And we are live. What's up, guys? We got Kevin Ray Wilder joining us for a special live stream / Q&A. So excited to have you on, man.
Thanks, brother. Excited to be here.
Yeah, man. Anytime. So for anyone who's not familiar with you, do you want to give a quick 30-second background about who you are and what you do?
Sure, absolutely. So I am a shadow integration and fitness coach. So for those of you who don't know what shadow integration is, Carl Jung popularized it. More specifically, recently, Jordan Peterson did. I take it from more of like a Nietzschean approach, but the idea is you try to really observe your insecurities and then try to face them head on to become a better man. And so specifically in the realm of dating, I focus on inner game. And my background is as a personal trainer. So I believe a lot in like looks maxing, for example. The vast majority of guys that I ended up training, they wouldn't tell me this, but they just want to look better for girls. It's okay to admit that. It's fine.
Wait, so you're telling me that if you look better, girls will find you more attractive? It's crazy.
I know, right? Dude, if you watch, maybe the red pillars will say something different. It's just like, hey, just have a lot of money and status, bro, and that's it. But,
RZ Tyler told me that looks matter 0%.
Yeah. I'm a balding ginger, and I get, yeah. I just have to mindset my way through things. But yeah, so in the realm of dating, I also have pretty significant advantages in the sense that like I'm 6'2", I have green eyes, so I get away with things that most other guys don't. So I actually don't give too much like outer game advice, like very specifically like what to text her and all that stuff. I defer to Coach Whitepill because we run a coaching program together, but then also obviously guys like Alex are really good with that as well. I know Alex has solid inner game and all that stuff too, but my specialty more specifically is the inner game stuff because I feel, no problem, man. Did you just do that because I was Japanese? That I got the whole thing?
No.
Right on. Oh, yes, I'm also half Japanese. Yeah. So that's really
my things I learned about you. One is that you're 6'2" because you're deceptively tall, and two, that you're half Japanese. I'm like, damn, I did not see that coming. So to give you guys a little context, Kevin, on top of doing all that, he's gained some notoriety lately for making a lot of very interesting, I want to say critique videos about Fresh and Fit. And that's actually how I stumbled upon your channel. It just came up in my YouTube feed, and it was like, it was a 3-hour Fresh and Fit roast video. And I'm going to be honest, when I first saw that, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, 3 hours? You don't need 3 hours to shit on Fresh and Fit. You can do this in like 5 minutes. Like, what is this? This is going to be long as fuck. So I went into it kind of dismissive. I'll be fully transparent. When I started watching it, I was like, whoa, like everything you're saying makes sense. Like these are all critiques I would give. And I think it's important because, as I've mentioned in the past, I think that most of the criticism Fresh and Fit gets is actually incorrect. It's coming from like social justice warrior feminists, and they're saying, yeah, they're misogynist, blah, blah, blah. But they're not and I'm like listening to that. I'm like, well, that's not really true. And their audience isn't going to resonate with that because they're going to be just going to make them more ingrained. So what I think you do so well is you provide actually valid criticism that the average person, can actually resonate with. Like, yeah, this logically makes sense. Like, they are kind of, being very hypocritical, by doing this, and that. So I think that's something you do people well. What? How did you start doing that? How did that first begin?
So it's interesting. I first began, I just tried to, the very first video was not hypercritical. It was very much like, okay, so I just saw this clip. I forgot which clip it was. I think it was something like saying, oh, like a girl that really likes you will like never make you wait no matter what, like ever. You know what I mean? So like the kind of the sentiment of the video, they were like debating this girl, this like Latina girl who was in green. And she said like, oh, honestly, like I've actually never like slept with the guy on the first date. And they were just like, oh, cap, no matter what, that never exists. It's like, okay, in general, if a girl says that, they're probably lying, but there are certain situations where they might not be. And I was just kind of trying to pose the question of like, okay, if does he seriously think that this like never happens, like 0% of the time? Like when you make a black and white statement like that, that's a big red flag for me. But I made it was a very calm, rational video. I even said at the beginning, it's like, guys, I know a lot of you guys watching this will probably end up being fans, but like, let's just try to look at this objectively. I was very calm the whole video. And obviously I got ratioed on that. Anyway, the comment section was freaking vitriolic. Everyone was calling me like a beta and a white knight and a simp and a social justice warrior, all this other shit. Again, I always say this on my streams. I find that so funny because, I've never voted Democrat in my life. Again, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but
dude, there could be a video of robbing an old grandma, and you could make a comment like, "Hey, it's kind of fucked up to steal from old grandmas." Simp, beta.
I know, right? Simp, beta.
This grandma, she was a whore. She was asking for it.
Clout chaser.
Grammy sweater she was wearing.
Yeah, I know, right?
So
yeah. She was asking for it, bro.
She was asking.
Myron put her in her place. So anyway, it started with that, and then one of my subscribers sent me a video, or he just gave me some info on this girl named Anna Quinn Fitness, and she had all these screenshots of Myron supposedly trying to, solicit sex from her in order to get on his podcast, and so I interviewed her, and then that got even more downvoted and stuff, and the more that she revealed to me, the more it kind of pissed me off, to be honest. And I tried to not get too emotional and worked up over it, obviously, because it's, that's what you want to do as a guy and just as a person in general. But when you just look at the facts objectively, when this guy is also selling a course, DMs on demand, on how to DM girls, like if you go to his website, his whole thing is, you're going to be competing with these guys who have these things you don't have access to. Such as, money and status and whatnot. And if you want to compete in the sexual marketplace nowadays, it has to be on Instagram. And I don't think that's 100% correct.
No,
I think, that's kind of a cope if you just aren't able to succeed on dating apps, to be honest. And then after that, they're saying, okay, well, you're competing against these guys, so we're going to sell you a course on how to compete against them, right? And then meanwhile, in the background, in his own life, he's actually using the tactics of these supposed high status guys that his customers are going to be competing against, like offering to fly girls out, for example, to come have sex with him, right? He never actually explicitly made that offer to Anna Quinn, but on his podcast, he implied that he was trying to do that.
I mean,
it's just the hypocrisy, man.
The hypocrisy is off the charts. I mean, you have, I think you made this point initially. Like they were talking about, you don't want to simp for for chicks. Don't sign up for their OnlyFans. Don't pay for porn. Don't be a simp. And then what do after they get their audience going? Oh, check out our Patreon, which has porn, so you can simp for us. So instead of simping for these girls, you should simp for us. And then on an interview, he admits it. Basically, it's like, these guys are going to simp for someone, so might as well simp for us and give us money instead of giving these random girls money. I'm just listening to this oh my God. And then talking about, Instagram, we know Instagram, DMs on demand. And then meanwhile, they have 6 chicks on their podcast just destroy Fresh's Instagram. This is the worst Instagram ever. I would never accept your DM, if I didn't know you. And then Fresh is like, oh, Myron, let's rate Myron. Myron's like, no. We need to keep the pretense going. So yeah, it's pretty funny. And the hypocrisy is pretty big. I've been trying to call it out a little bit myself. So what would you say are the top 3 critiques you have of Fresh and Fit?
Okay, so the very first one, honestly, is that they are ideologically driven and not willing to have a conversation with people that disagree with them. That's just my problem with the red pill community as a whole, because I love the red pill as a metaphor of seeking the truth, no matter how uncomfortable. But as part of seeking the truth, it's like this type of stuff that you do, Alex, and what I do is we'll have anybody on to have a discussion and have a debate. I mean, you did that with Face and LMS. You've done that with some other people. You did that with that girl dating coach, unfortunately, I hope that problem got resolved. I don't know if it did or not.
I mean, my Instagram is still down. I'm kind of losing hope in getting it back, but we'll see. I'm trying to get it.
Sorry to hear that, man. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be consequences to trying to seek the truth and platforming people who might potentially disagree with you in order to have a rational discussion, right? But that being the case, Fresh and Fit don't do that. They only platform girls who they know they can win in a debate against, and they use that as entertainment. The second problem that I have with that is it's entertainment disguised as education, Because if they really just, all they did was they just wanted like the next show, the next Howard Stern or the next, Maury or the next Jerry Springer, and that's it, then that's fine. All the power to you, right? Those have existed and have been popular for a long time for a reason. But the issue is they bring these guys in who really just want to be entertained and to have kind of like their beta male mindset reinforced, because we know with the modern dating marketplace, there's an 80-20 disparity. Basically, the bottom 80% of men are struggling to get like 20% of the women. So there's going to be a large audience for that. So those guys tend to build up a lot of resentment over time for women because they're failing with them, right? Now, some guys have the mindset of, okay, like, well, some guys will have the courage to actually point the finger to themselves and be like, okay, well, where can I improve? But there's naturally, innately within all of us, I'm a big fan of Nietzsche. He calls it slave morality, where basically you have this moral system saying, okay, well, it's not my fault, it's somebody else's fault. And because it's their fault, they're the bad guy and I'm the good guy, because we all want to be the heroes in our own story, right? So, and I know this because I have like a marketing background. And so I've studied this extensively. So they really reach out to like kind of like the lowest part within all of us with the clickbait content of like, she was capping, so Myron put her in her place, and don't trust these 304s nowadays. All women are this, and that nowadays. And so they bring that sort of audience in. And the logical justification for these emotional guys to keep watching is saying, oh, well, I'm just learning the truth about women, right? I'm learning these things, rather than the actual reality, which is they're just watching the new Maury or Jerry Springer and just wasting their fucking time. Right. Then maybe they're being entertained, but they're not being educated. And the fact that they changed their well, first of all, I give them credit for not calling themselves a dating podcast anymore, because they're not.
They did that for a very long time, though.
Yeah, I know, right? And now they call themselves a self-improvement podcast, which might even be a bigger lie. That's a lot of crap. Like,
self-improvement podcast.
Yeah, I know, right?
Are you a 5? Are you trying to become a 6 or 7? Watch the Fresh and Fit podcast. We're going to take you in the opposite direction. We're going to make you a 3 and a 4, maybe even a 2. And if you buy our course and you pay our membership fee, we're going to make you a 1, sir. Oh my God, how do I sign up?
Have you been dying to intentionally decrease your SMV? We're the perfect podcast for you. But yeah, so those are 2 problems. I would say, what's the third problem? I mean, the third problem is just in general is just the hypocrisy. Just in general, like, again, because of the things that I talked about before, it's like they preach certain things, but then they live totally different in the background. And, I don't even necessarily say this with glee, because I think I'm a free speech absolutist. I think anybody should be able to say whatever they want. I am totally anti-cancel culture. So honestly, if Fresh and Fit got canceled, I would be pretty upset from that, like, libertarian side of me. I think that would be messed up. You should be able to say whatever the hell you want. I really believe that. But that being the case, I think they have a timeline, because, eventually these big YouTubers are going to it's already starting with Alba and Preach. They made a video the other day, kind of backtracking and trying to distance themselves, even though they were on their show. I think eventually a lot of big YouTubers are going to come after them, and then big media outlets, and then
potentially,
how YouTube is, man. YouTube, they have no problem just like pulling the plug on your channel. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. Again, as somebody who, obviously, I'm not a big fan of Fresh and Fit. I don't want that to happen to them, but I think it's kind of inevitable that they have an expiration date. I give them a year tops, So.
Yeah, I will. So potentially, you might be right. I will call out the elephant in the room, and that's their minorities. And I think they give YouTube is going to give them a whole different level of consideration. Like, I think if I was doing the content they're doing, I would have been canceled a while ago, right? And I think they know that. And, it is what it is. I'm not going to, complain about it or something like that. But I do think there's a little bit of double standard there.
So do you think, like, they might give them a little bit more leeway because
100%.
they're black?
But the question is how much leeway.
Well, also the majority of their audience, too. I mean, I don't know their analytics, but just based on the people I see in the comment section, the people I see, the fanboys I see in my comment section whenever they do breakdowns of guys' Instagrams, the majority of their audience, I think, are like young black men, maybe Latino men as well. So maybe they would take that into consideration. I don't know. But yeah, that's a good point I hadn't thought of, because I find it really interesting that they haven't really gotten into that much trouble even up to this point, you know?
It's 100% because of that. I would bet my life on it. I will say one thing though, they are still like if I was their business advisor, I would tell them to stop doing dumb shit. Like they just recently had a podcast and they called it "Rape Culture is a Myth." Like that's just like, why would you call it that? First of all, like, you know, rape is like a serious thing. Like, and I understand the arguments that they're making. I don't even necessarily disagree with those arguments. I do think, you know, there's a lot of guys who do get fucked, you know, with false rape accusations. But like, calling something rape culture is a myth is just, you're begging things to get taken out of context. That'd be like me making a video. I'm trying to think of something outrageous. How I use Tinder to trick a girl into sex. Like, how long is that video going to stay up? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like how I use Photoshop to get a chick to bang me who normally wouldn't. Like, again, and I also agree with you that I'm a huge free speech advocate. I think you should be able to do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting other people. I do think they're kind of going a little bit downhill, meaning that when they first started, they were kind of like the new kids on the block, and they were kind of like original, and it was kind of like fresh. It was like, you know, the content was fairly fresh. And even though I disagree with the dating advice, I thought it was pretty interesting. Like they were doing a lot of interesting things. And now just gone so repetitive. It's like every episode, it's the same thing. It's like we're going to get on a bunch of, I'll say it, like dumb 18-year-olds. You know, most of the chicks who are coming on there are not super intelligent. I'm sure there's a lot of exceptions. You know, I'm not knocking the girls who do that show, but you know, just from what I've seen, the arguments that are being made on that show aren't that good. You know, they're just not. And they're like, okay, we're going to win this one and own this chick and own that chick. And every episode is like, how I own this chick, how this chick got Frank Castle. Like, how many fucking guests do you need to kick out of your fucking channel? Like I've been doing podcasts for like a year and a half now. I've never had to kick out a guest. I mean, granted, you know, we're having a different audience. So that's like their formula, and it seems to work, but at a certain point, it just gets like really repetitive.
Yeah, I find it really interesting too how like, because they bring on a very specific type of girl, you know, like OnlyFans girls, porn stars, maybe girls who are really just trying to grow their Instagrams and whatnot, and then they make a wide claim, like an overarching claim saying, look guys, women are all this nowadays. It's like, maybe it's possible just in your section of Miami, when specifically girls who are willing to come on your show, maybe they're all like this, right? And again, I'm not necessarily saying that that's like good or bad. It's just like you're targeting a very specific demographic that'll come on your show. There's already so many filters. Like, so for example, if somebody reaches out to one of these talent agencies or one of these girls, and guys, I don't know if you know this, most of the girls going on the show are from a talent agency. I've talked to most of them. I say like, oh, how did they? Well, not most of them. I talked to some of them, but a lot of the ones that I talked to, they because I wanted to just, you know how Fresh and Fit operated, you know, and it's more specifically when the whole Anna Quinn fitness thing was happening. I just wanted to see if like, did this happen to other girls? So, but anyway, most of them come from a talent agency. So you already have like a selection, kind of like a selection bias there, in the sense that only girls who are trying to gain clout for their personal followings will ever even consider coming on, right? I mean, I think, you know, I don't watch their show enough. I think there's a few girls that come on there genuinely just because they want to have a discussion. But I think in general, when you see titles and thumbnails being like, all girls are this nowadays, and this hoe got out of line, so she got kicked out. Imagine you're just some random girl. Like, would you really want to go on a podcast like that and then potentially get embarrassed in front of hundreds of thousands of guys?
No, I don't know any girl that wants to go on their podcast. And I know a lot of girls in Miami.
Yeah, man. It's really tough. I think just in general, like with, you know, dating topics, like the girls that I date, for example, like none of them want to come on my show. I need to get some tips from you on how to do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my studio going in like a few weeks. We're actually putting down the checks this week, and so we'll have the studio in like a week or two. And nice. Even though it's costing me an arm and a leg, I think it's gonna be a little bit of an experiment, but I think I'm gonna be able to show like how to do these kinds of debates with girls correctly without like, you know, making it confrontational, without making it like just like a Jerry Springer type of shit. So to kind of actually not change gears, but to kind of comment on this, I would say my gripes with Fresh and Fit are this. One is, for a long time, they called themselves a dating podcast, but their dating advice is extremely subpar. So if they call themselves a Red Pill Theory podcast, that's a different story. But dating podcast, that's like, me calling me having a business podcast, but like I'm telling you guys to like fucking, take your money and put it on the roulette table. And that's my business advice too. Like I can't call myself a business podcast because I'm giving bad business advice. So number one. Number two, I've been seeing a fairly high level of hypocrisy with them like doing porn now or whatever on their content and getting their fans to simp for them, having an Instagram course when their own Instagram is like, objectively getting destroyed by girls. So a lot of like just all these like little hustles they got going on now. Now they're like charging guests to come on the podcast. Like in the history of podcasting, no one ever fucking does that. Like you think Joe Rogan charges people like, oh yeah, you have to pay me $20,000 to come on my show. No, you have a guest on because you feel like they have something valuable to add. You don't have a guest on just for money. So that's just, to me, it's like a huge conflict of interest. And three, I think that a lot of their like fans are getting wrong ideas about what it means to be alpha and what it means to, be successful with women. Like, for example, I can see a lot of their fans thinking like, oh, if a girl, makes a joke, you should, be like, listen, if you do that again, you're done, right? But in reality, the girl's just playing with you and giving you a shit test. In reality, doesn't make you alpha. That actually makes you seem more beta, because a real alpha, he doesn't get triggered by stuff. He just lets stuff like roll off his shoulders, right? Like a real alpha, if a girl makes a little joke, he's like, and the girl's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Like all you need is like a little look, like, really? Like, yeah. And that's really it. A real alpha doesn't go, listen, I'm going to give you one last lecture. Like that's not what real alpha does. So I think those are kind of my kind of gripes.
Yeah, man, I totally agree with that because, so what Coach Whitepill and I like to call them is we like to call them falfas or fake alphas, because it's almost like, all right, so, their Bible is like the rational male, right? So you can read the rational male through two different lenses and get a completely different mindset out of it. You can go in with kind of more of like a white pill, the alpha mindset of like, oh, well, I want to figure out female nature and women, and then I want to apply this to my dating life.
So I'm going to ask a guy who's been married to an ugly girl for 30 years.
Yeah. Putting aside the
who has zero game experience and who stopped doing game before even the internet was popular.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing. So let's joke.
Yeah, I totally agree. So let's put aside that, because actually, funny enough, his book is actually not that bad. It's just his content on YouTube and the things he actually says. He actually contradicts a lot of the shit that he says in the book. And that's one of the issues I have with these guys is there's so much cognitive dissonance there. They'll say one thing and then they'll say another thing. And then you actually don't really know what they believe in, So for example, with in the Rational Male, Rollo talks about how, and this is why I call it like the fresh and fit, or I like to call it the fake and fat griftosphere now, because I think it's something that transcends the red pill. And it's actually like, fresh and fit is basically like the gatekeeper to the manosphere now, right? You get fresh and fit seal of approval, you're going to get views. If fresh and fit doesn't approve of you, then nobody's ever going to hear of you, right? So that's why you see all of these other guys who, I
am just making videos, providing value, helping guys get girls and get laid. I've been doing it all wrong. I got to start sucking up the fresh and fit.
Yeah, exactly,
stupid,
man. That's
stupid.
That's why I think it's so ironic that people maybe they call you a little bit less, but they call me especially like a clout chaser. It's like, damn, man, like you call me a clout chaser. If I was actually like on their side sucking their dick, I would get like way more views. I'd get way more people liking and thumbs upping my videos. A lot of guys would probably potentially be like, hey, you should go on their show, like Fresh and Fit. You should check this guy out. You should bring him on, right? But because it's just like I can't fake my way through it, okay? Because it's just like if I were to do that, I would have to be like, oh, I think these guys. I would have to just lie and think that they're legit and think they're not full of shit. Like that would actually be clout chasing, where you compromise your values.
Or like fucking lying and saying things that I don't really mean. Fuck that shit. And one thing I want to point out,
be like that, man.
One thing I wanted to kind of point out is for a while you've been publicly advocating that you will actually debate Fresh and Fit. And you were willing to completely stay away from all the personal stuff, just logically debate Myron about game or whatever, fitness or anything. And they're aware of the challenge, right? You said?
Oh, absolutely. They're very aware of it. First of all, I got blocked on the Fresh and Fit Instagram. I think they got deleted, so it doesn't matter anymore. But they have acknowledged me on their channel, basically saying, oh, well, if you mention any of our haters again, you're going to be instantly banned, right? That's the most alpha male thing to ever do. Whenever somebody, has a critique of you or says anything bad about you, instead of fighting it, you suppress it, you silence them. Right. That's what alpha males do. That's alpha male behavior. So anyway, they've done that. They've tried to have one of their friends kind of debate me by proxy almost, not a direct debate. Mr. Lucario, if you know who he is. I actually think Mr. Lucario is one of the better ones because he lets random people call into the show, and he's very open-minded, and I don't get the sense of like resentment and hatred toward women at all from him. With Fresh and Fit, I think they definitely do. But anyway, more so than resentment and hatred is more so like, okay, they look at these things through a beta male lens, and because they look at it from a beta male lens, they have to do like really sneaky shit in order to try to get laid, and all their advice is congruent with that way of thinking. You know what I mean? So anyway, just to go back to what I was saying a while ago with the rational male, to point out the hypocrisy here that they have, and Rollo as an extension, and the rest of the manosphere who simps for Fresh and Fit now because they're by far the most popular. Rollo has this concept in his book called, beta buxing. You probably heard of that before, right? They say alpha fucks beta bucks. So basically, the idea is it goes to the theory of the dual mating strategy, where basically a woman will have an alpha male that she wants to reproduce with, and then she has a beta male so an alpha that she's secretly fucking, right? And then a beta male that kind of provides for her, right? Provisioning, all this other types of stuff. And it's really interesting because Rollo even has this like funny catchphrase. It's not really funny, but he says like, oh, well, this girl will act like she's all loyal to you and make you do all this work. Meanwhile, she fucks the hot guy at the foam cannon party in Cancun on the first time meeting him, right? Basically implying, okay, well, there's certain guys, these alpha male guys that can get laid no matter what, whether they have, money status or whatnot, right? So Myron is completely an antithesis to that, where basically, he really doesn't teach that much game. And all the time he's just talking about like, I need to increase my status, increase my wealth. All these 304s, all they want is money and status and attention. And then, so he's basically teaching his audience the beta bucks side of things from the rational male, which is funny because Rollo actually advocates to not do that, right? And that's where the hypocrisy comes in. And that's why I think it's such a grift on all ends of the spectrum, because Fresh and Fit, first of all, they do the whole beta buxing thing, right? And as an extension of that, what's inevitably going to happen is things like OnlyFans and them actually like promoting OnlyFans and shit. And then yet they have guests on like Rollo Tomaso who comes on, and this is supposedly completely against the ideas he espouses, because he doesn't want you to be a beta male. And yet he sees this peak beta male behavior and just sits there like a good little boy and lets, Myron just say all of his BS on stream, because it's one giant grift. He doesn't want to get on Fresh and Fit's bad side.
Yeah, to me, it's just like politics, where like people in their party, they'll support, like you'll have like Ron Paul supporting like someone like, I don't know, like Donald Trump or something like that, where they believe totally different things, but they'll just like, it's the same party or whatever. Not Ron Paul, he's the wrong example. He wouldn't really, but like other Republicans who are like classical conservatives supporting like someone like Trump, or you see that in Democrats too. I'm not just picking the Republicans, but
you'll see, for example, like with Donald Trump, he went directly after Jeb Bush, and he just like basically just made fun of him and made him like a whole laughingstock, whatever. And then like 6 months later, Jeb Bush is endorsing Donald Trump because they're ideologically driven. They're like, the party needs to win, right?
Yeah, like with Mitt Romney, there's this one meme where it's like it's Donald Trump and Mitt Romney having dinner, and it's like, say your name again, Reek. from Game of Thrones. Because Mitt Romney looks all meek and Donald Trump is like a big smile on his face.
That's so funny, man. He just demoralized the whole Republican Party and just made it the Trump Party.
That
I think it's quite funny. And then obviously the left does the same thing too with like, Bernie Sanders. He's supposedly, trying to change the system and whatnot. And, he's supposedly like the libertarian side of the Democratic Party, But then he's endorsing Hillary Clinton. Like he even says like, oh, well, Hillary Clinton cheated. And like because she cheated, I didn't get the nomination. This is back in 2016. And then yet he endorses Hillary Clinton afterwards. Like what? That's freaking insane, man. It's like if you're playing a basketball game and or not even a basketball game. It's like if you're a sprinter and you find out the first place guy took steroids and he won the race because he was taking steroids, and then you like come to his defense afterwards for taking steroids. Like, it makes no fucking sense. Like, why would you come to the defense of somebody who beat you by cheating? So the only reason you would do that is for a grander purpose, because it's some sort of grift, right? Yeah.
So let me change gears a little bit. So you mentioned in the past that you would consider yourself white pill. So what is white pill for anyone who's not familiar, including myself?
Yeah, so the white pill is it's a mindset, first and foremost. You can call it a philosophy as well, of having hope and faith that you can change your life situation, no matter what the circumstances. So what I like to use it as is, I do believe that the red pill and the blue pill metaphor are like amazing, and that's why I'm actually so passionate about reforming the red pill, because red pill online that you're familiar with isn't actually red pill. It's an ideology. And if you go off of the movie The Matrix, you shouldn't call it. It's by definition not an ideology. It's the truth, right? Regardless, and not ascribing any kind of value judgment of good or bad to the truth, right? So it's a whole mindset of seeking the truth no matter what. And the issue is with the red pill community online is, unless they have dogmatic beliefs. So unless you believe in hypergamy, unless you believe in women's solipsistic nature, which basically just means that women think, the whole world revolves around them, right? So unless you believe in those things and a few other things, you're automatically not red pilled, right? They say, oh, we're always open to discussion and debate and talking about this stuff, but obviously they never actually do that. Otherwise, they would accept my debate challenges, which they're not, because they're ideologically driven and they're scared to debate me. But anyway, so I think red pill and blue pill, if you know the Cartesian coordinates, I hope you can see this here, like the X and the Y axis. Mm-hmm. So on the Y axis is blue pill versus red pill, right? So there's a spectrum of how red pilled you can be in the sense of like you willing to seek out the truth, and blue pill in the sense of how indoctrinated you are in terms of a certain lie and an ideology, right? So on the X axis, I should say, is black and white pill. So regardless, so ideally in the manosphere, almost everybody is kind of more on that red pill side because they are seeking the truth, even if it could come from more of an indignant place because they've been hurt by women or whatever. But regardless, if you're here, at this point, you have a decision, because in the Matrix movie, everybody took the red pill. Neo took the red pill, and Morpheus took the red pill, Trinity took the red pill, Cypher took the red pill. So Neo took the red pill, and after that, he didn't go completely nihilistic and say, oh my God, the world's run by machines, everything is hopeless, this is terrible. Instead, he was like, okay, well, this Morpheus guy believes in me. He believes I'm the one that can actually, bring balance back to the world and actually have humans have a fighting chance against the machines. So despite having some kind of bleak reality, he ended up taking massive action toward actually trying to make the best of it, right? And trying to make the world a better place. As opposed to another character, Cypher, he got red pilled too. He even says in the movie he regrets taking the red pill. But then when he takes the red pill, he's just like, well, all this shit sucks. I just want to get put back in the Matrix. So he's way more nihilistic, saying all this is pointless. And he actually has a meeting with Agent Smith where he says, and he's eating like some steak or something in the Matrix. And he's like, you know what? Like, I know that this steak is fake. I know it's just like a bunch of code and whatever telling me that it tastes good. But honestly, I don't really care. I know all this is pointless, but I don't care. I just want you to plug me back in, right? So similarly, when it comes to the red pill, when guys get red pilled, and Rollo Tomasi actually acknowledges this himself, typically in order for you to see massive change in your life, you need to go through some sort of trauma, because humans are more motivated by pain than they are seeking pleasure. This is basically proven through psychological research, right? So once that happens to you, so it's inevitable, all guys that get red pilled have some kind of traumatic moment. But when you're in a state of trauma, typically where your mind's going to go is to a dark place, right? So if a lot of times if you read red pill content, you're just going to go darker into more of a darker and darker place, because you're trying to alleviate the feeling of you being cheated, the feeling of you feeling worthless and having low self-esteem. So reading things like The Rational Male, the vast majority of guys look at it from that mindset, from that negative mindset. And then they start to really actually develop a resentment and honestly hatred toward women, a lot of them, unconsciously, whether they know it or not. So the issue is more so what we try to do is when guys inevitably get red pilled, especially because, again, most guys get red pilled through a state of trauma. They might have just gotten cheated on. That's usually what ends up happening. That's their red pill moment for a lot of them. We want to try to have a guiding path. We want to be like Morpheus for them, where when they wake up in the red pilled reality in the world of the machines, and they realize their entire life of what people have told them about women, about society, has been a lie, that we can offer them some type of hope and guidance to actually navigate through this new reality. The issue is guys like Rollo, he's just like, well, here's the red pill. And like he's Morpheus in the movie when he gives Neo the red pill. But then when Neo wakes up in the Matrix, like imagine if Morpheus wasn't there. Then Neo was just like stumbling around in the darkness in the sewers and being like, what the fuck is going on, right? That's basically what Rollo does. He red pills his audience, and then he doesn't have the balls to actually lead them through this new reality. The balls or the competence. So we are there to fill that void.
The white pill is like the red pill plus action.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is with the red pill, I want to be careful with that because it's in the red pill as it should be, as it actually is presented in the Matrix, as having the mindset of seeking the truth, no matter how uncomfortable. That's it. The issue is I don't think Rollo is actually red pill. The red pill has colloquially become kind of associated with the Rollo dogma, what's talked about in the Rational Male, right? And I agree with a lot of what Rollo talks about in the Rational Male, but I disagree a ton I disagree with a lot of it as well. And the red pill, unfortunately, that's why I don't call myself a red pill channel, because the red pill has become, again, it's become associated with all these different things that it shouldn't. You know what I mean? But in the purest form of how the red pill should actually be and how it's actually presented in the movie, I definitely fit that description. So part of what I'm trying to do here is, because I think it's such a great metaphor, I want to retake that term and make sure that everybody realizes Rollo Tomassi is not red-pilled. He's Rollo-pilled. He's an ideology. And actually being red-pilled is about things like we talk about here. So I know you don't identify with the term red pill, but I think, Alex, that you truly actually fit the real description of it.
Where you're an Alex Pill.
You're Alex Pill. But yeah, I like it. I'm Kevin Pill. Well, I'm white pill too, but
yeah, we need to create some more pills.
Man. But the thing is with the red pill, though, like if it's in its truest form, you are willing to hear all sides of a debate because one of your biggest values is really trying to figure this shit out, right? To actually seek the truth, right? You're willing to actually change your mind and to be proven wrong. And if you have that mindset, you're going to be willing to platform anybody who disagrees with you to try to actually seek the truth. That's what it means to be red pill. And that's why I don't think Rollo Tomassi or Fresh and Fit or any of these guys are red pill, because they don't want to platform or talk to people who disagree with them. But when you do that, you are by definition an ideology, right? Just like how the Marxists and communists were in Russia, for example. Do you really think that they opened up any kind of debate for anybody who was like a liberal, for example? No. They would either deport you or they would kill you for being a dissenter. You know what I mean? Because you were a threat to the ideology.
Yeah. Well, so in the interest of that, I was thinking about this. I was reading the comments going through this. There seem to be some guys passionately defending Fresh and Fit, i.e. the fanboys. So I will, in the interest of seeking the truth, I will open it up. If one of the Fresh and Fit fanboys want to come on and make logical arguments why we are wrong and Fresh and Fit, is right, I will have you guys on. I normally never ever do this, but let's do it today. I'm feeling kind of
I'm down for that.
Interested. So yeah, if you feel like, and again, please don't come on and just like moan or yell or just like act like a crazy person. Like you're only invited on if you can have like a normal conversation like a human being.
Yeah, and guys, like if you ever see the debates Alex and I have, we're always respectful. The only time, Alex, you're always calm no matter what, but the only time for me that I start to like turn into kind of a dick is if you're a dick to me, right? If you come on with a lot of negative energy and just honestly like that haterade energy, then I will mirror that back to you 10 times harder. And if you come in respectful, I will mirror that back to you 10 times harder as well. Again, we're trying to seek the truth, so.
That includes you, the relaxation channel, relaxation my ass. This guy's been like bitching in the comments nonstop. So yeah, I'm going to extend this offer to anyone. Okay. If you got some balls, then it's up to you. All right, let's take some questions in the meantime. So we got a lot.
I've done that offer so many times where people in the comment section say like, yeah, I want to come on and debate you. And then I invite them on. And then I see them like kind of hiding a bit in my StreamYard. But then they never actually like join, so I really want one of these guys to actually come in and defend them or just talk about them,
Yeah, I doubt it will happen.
But none of them do.
I'm not also against Kevin Samuels. Why not also go against Kevin Samuels? He's also toxic and bashes women. I don't like them on Kevin Samuels because I actually sort of like Kevin Samuels. I don't agree with everything he says, but I definitely prefer him significantly to Fresh and Fit. I think he's much more respectful. I think he's much more logical. I think he's much more consistent in terms of what he's been saying. So I'm a much bigger fan of him than I am of Fresh and Fit. Simple as that. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I have to look into him a bit more. Kevin Samuels, I think, is actually bigger than Fresh and Fit. So, that also debunks.
They have some kind of rift going now, like Fresh and Fit and Kevin Samuels. Apparently, like Fresh and Fit is banning people who are even like mentioning his name or something.
Wow. I mean, maybe Kevin Samuels is calling him out because that's the only thing I can think of. I don't really know because look. I saw a video by Kevin Samuels like a year and a half ago talking about incels and trying to help them out. And it was honestly a beautiful video. It was amazing. I gained so much respect for him. But also I cannot help but think that some of the content that he has, especially when he brings women on, a lot of it, I would be very curious to see what his channel analytics are. I have a feeling it's mostly dudes who get entertained by him, like, putting women in their place. He does it in a more respectful manner, in a more reasonable manner. And I think in general, especially because I'm pretty sure he specifically gives advice to like, black women in their like 30s and 40s and whatnot. I mean, at least those are the clips that go viral.
Like hot 18-year-old chicks are not calling into the show.
Yeah. So I think he gives practical red pill solutions to them. Again, as a side effect of that, I think it fuels up a lot of the guys to be like, yeah, she got put in her place and whatnot. But he actually is offering prescriptions that I think are helpful. Again, I can't fully go and say that I like support him by any means because I'm not familiar enough with his content. But obviously he is much more of a. Okay, so for example, if Kevin Samuels told me like, hey, I get laid a lot, I would agree. I would believe it. Right.
Oh, I think he definitely does. I have no doubt.
Yeah, exactly. If Myron Gaines or Fresh told me that, I'd be like, I don't know, man. You sure about that? Or at least, are you getting laid with good-looking girls? I don't.
Well, I mean, I recently had on what's her name? The tall chick. I forgot her name. Pearl. Just Pearl things. And she's like a red pill girl. So she was saying, she's like, yeah, I really like Fresh and Fit. She's like, I just don't think they get laid. That's like something every single girl, says. Like,
it's like game 101. I'm sorry to interrupt you, man, but I want to bring this up because you brought this up a while ago. It's like dealing with shit tests is like game 101. And whenever he gets shit tested by a girl, he fails every time in the sense that he just like gets all reactive and shit. So like, I can't imagine like any girl you ever end up dating, unless she's significantly less attractive than you. Like if your SMV is at like on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're like a 7, and then you're dating like a 3 or a 4, that girl is going to want you so badly that she's never going to even try to shit test you. But if you're dating somebody at your attractiveness level, or if you're actually good at this stuff, you're dating somebody who's more attractive than you, you're going to be getting tons of shit tests. And if you just fail them right from the jump, or you fail them every single time, like Myron probably does, and get all reactive, emotional, it's going to completely turn her off. So I think that's why guys with actual game like you and myself, and then like just pearly things. I mean, she's a girl, so she can identify, oh, well, why am I just completely turned off by these guys sexually?
Just to kind of drive
because they're very reactive and ungrounded. Yeah.
To kind of drive this point home, if you watch the Blue Jasmine interview on No Jumper, so she goes on No Jumper after Fresh and Fit, and Adam 22 is like, he makes a joke, oh, you want Fresh and Fit? Did you fuck those guys? And her reaction literally is like, them, ew. Like that's her reaction. Like if a girl is reacting to the idea of fucking you, ew, then something is off. Like I think there's a lot of girls who'd be like, no, I would not fuck Alex, but they wouldn't be like, ew. right?
Yeah,
So
that's a whole other thing of
I think
being, because
that's pretty telling.
that's the main thing is like most girls, this is a common thing that I debate black pillars about. They think that like girls are disgusted by like ugly guys. It's like, no, they, most people don't think of people as ugly. They just look at them as like invisible or average, right? By definition, if you're most people, you're going to be average. So unless you have some facial deformity, you're not going to be considered ugly. So girls will say more things like, oh, you know, he's nice, but he's not really my type, right? They won't be like, ugh, you know, like that, ugh, and comes from them actually like not respecting you so much to the point where they're actually like disgusted by you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, I actually, again, I mentioned a bit earlier when I was doing research for the whole Anaquin fitness situation, trying to figure out if other girls kind of went through that same thing. I would say about 90% of the girls were like, no, that didn't happen to me, but like that honestly doesn't surprise me at all. Like I just went through a talent agency and they were kind of weird and I felt uncomfortable, but you know, whatever. Like, you know, they didn't try to solicit me for sex or anything. And then there were a few select girls who actually came to their defense. And but when you watch the show, they're always the least attractive girls on the panel. So the least attractive girls are coming to their defense. My thinking is, I'm not saying this definitively. My thinking is because those were the girls who are actually fucking them, right? The not so good looking ones are the ones who are actually fucking them, and then therefore they were coming to their defense. There was not one attractive. Yeah, there was not one attractive one that, and I'm saying objectively attractive, right? Again, I'm not about body shaming and all that type of stuff, but I'm just telling it as it is. The ones who were a little bit more rotund, I will say, the ones who were a little bit more rotund were the ones.
Well, there was a little extra woman to love. All right, let's move on to the next question. Do you think it's appropriate for a 17-year-old to do cold approach? Yeah, I don't really see any issue with it. I mean, some older chicks might be like, "Hey, where's your mom at?" Oh, I'm just kidding. I don't see an issue with it at all. Like, yeah, why not? Like, what do you have to lose?
Well, maybe it would be kind of like environment dependent as well. If you think that your age might be a factor. So, again, I don't really do outer game stuff, so this is a better question to ask Alex. But I think if I was in that situation, maybe I would try to go to like college campuses or something, or places where I knew college girls were at. Because like,
yeah, like the mall, college campuses,
yeah, like a girl who's in her 20s probably wouldn't even give you a shot, but a girl who's like 18, 19, like freshman, sophomore in college,
depends on the chick. Okay, let's quickly take this. So funny to have a live stream, continue to talk shit, continue like nonstop. You gotta be sad as hell. All right, relaxation channel. So you're gonna come on and show us what's up, right? We never see him again.
Look at this weeb with his freaking, anime thumbnail. I don't know if you know what a weeb is. It's someone who's like obsessed with Japanese culture, And actually, as a Japanese guy myself, I typically appreciate that. But there are a lot of weebs who are freaking weird. So when you combine weebiness with Rolo pill ideology, it's just peak level cringe. But yeah, relaxation channel. Come on here and come defend your savers, bro.
Simps male feminists worship women and never complain about girls. Guys who game complain a little about females, and red pill guys complain nonstop. Yeah, I agree with that. I complain from time to time. It's just not nearly as much as the red pill guys. Yeah.
A little bit of complaining is healthy and fine. And you need to vent sometimes. That's okay. We're not against that. And again, Alex and I don't have the frame of like women are right all the time, or they never women are human beings. They do a lot of fucked up shit, right? It's more so do you start to paint women in general with a broad brush and start to say all women are this and that in order for you to alleviate yourself of the responsibility of you becoming better with your dating life, because that's a very convenient thing to say, oh, well, women are all this and that nowadays. Therefore, I'm going to check out of the dating market. And coincidentally, the dating market, getting good at game and good at dating is actually extremely fucking hard, right? It's like if you know the Jim Jeffries joke, he says something like, oh, well, there's a difference between being a slut and a stud. Like nobody respects a slut because it's so easy for them to get laid. But being a stud is fucking hard. You need to be cool. You need to be good looking. You need to, make a lot of money, all this other types of stuff. So that's why guys respect, and women in some ways actually do respect guys who sleep with a lot of women, because we know implicitly it's a very difficult thing to do. So if you just say, oh, well, all women are this and that nowadays, therefore I'm going MGTOW and checking out the dating market, fine. That's up to you. You can do whatever you want. But don't sit on your high horse and act like you're doing something so virtuous, when in reality, you're just running away from the pain of actually doing the work that it takes to be successful with women.
Touche. My question, what coach would PWF recommend for learning day and night game? I have a bunch. I would recommend Austin Summers. I would recommend Coach Kyle. I would recommend John Anthony Lifestyle. I would recommend Vadim from Honest Signals. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch right now. Yeah, those four off the top of my head for sure. I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones, but yeah, those four right off the top of my head.
I only knew like two of those guys that you just said.
Good guys. Pitting on Sterling Cooper on their show just for marketing. Yeah, most likely. I mean, he gets probably, a shitload of sales. He has like a whole sex course right now. So every time he comes on, he gets a shitload of free exposure. I like Sterling. He's a good guy. I've hung out with him. I have nothing, I'm not going to not be friends with him because he went on their show. Like,
you've had him on your show.
Yeah, right? I've had him on my show multiple times. Yeah, he's a good guy.
I mean, I don't know his content too much, but I know he does teach like a sex course or whatever. And this is something interesting that the Red Pill guys, I don't think talk enough about is like, like sex. It sounds obvious to some of you guys maybe, but sex is so freaking important in terms of like building a rotation, actually having girls coming back and not just having a bunch of one night stands. Right. I know it sounds obvious, but I'll take my own life, for example, right? Back in the day, basically until I was like 24 or whatever, like I would not care if the girl came. I didn't care about none of that shit, right? Go figure, I had a lot of churn. A lot of these girls didn't come back. But then when I actually learned to be good at sex and actually had the other person's consideration in mind, these girls start coming back for more, go figure. So you learning to be good at sex is very, very important. Very important. So props to Sterling Cooper. Again, I don't really know his content that much, but I think it's actually a very important thing that guys need to learn and have an understanding of, because it's very, very crucial for you to have a good dating life and not constantly having to do cold approaches forever. Again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but more so, if you only want one night stands and that's it forever, then you don't need to give a shit about getting good at sex, right? Because you don't want to see these girls again anyway.
No, you definitely want to know how to fuck girls well, no matter what your goal is. I mean, whether your goal is like your rotations, relationship, whatever. Being able to fuck well is definitely like a big, attribute.
Absolutely. So
it's funny to see Virgin Rolo next to Sterling Cooper. I know it's such a contrast because like Rolo has been married for 30 years to like an old skeleton, and like Sterling's just banging hot porn stars that have like nothing in common at all.
Yeah, it's like Sterling probably has like a body count of like 500, and Rolo has a body count of like 5. So it is fun to see that.
Okay, let's see what else we got.
Can I answer this one really quick? Somebody said, is Wilder a Japanese name? No, it's not a Japanese name. My Japanese name is Inoue. That's my mom's maiden name, which is a very common name in Japan. But no, Wilder's not a Japanese name.
We got another Kevin. My criticism is that you guys shouldn't create new pills and just create a name for yourself. This ain't Power Rangers, man. You're all giving colors out like Zordon from Power Rangers. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so the reason that we do that is because so the white pill doesn't exist without the black pill. The black pill doesn't exist without the red pill. All right. You have to go with according to where people are at and how people are talking on the internet. Right. So if I just said, hey, and it's context dependent as well. So the entire idea of the white pill is hope and faith, action taking despite whatever reality is given to you. The person that actually kind of exemplifies those values the most is Jocko Willink, right? The author of Extreme Ownership. We talked about him before. Yeah. But, Jocko's not sitting there being like, oh, I'm white pilled, but he is actually white pilled. The issue is in the specific context of the manosphere, people understand what red pill and blue pill is. And because of that, the black pill community kind of arose as kind of a resistance to red pill ideas. Unfortunately, there's some nihilism tied to that. So the white pill is actually a direct response to the black pill thinking of nihilism, hopelessness, apathy based on a red pill reality. So in order to be able to actually, if the Matrix movie didn't exist, if the term red pill didn't exist, if the term black pill didn't exist, the term white pill wouldn't exist either, right? It's basically it's a response to certain communities that are on the internet. It's kind of like, let's say that there's some sort of political party, right? Let's say, communism, right? So if you have communism and you want to really try to stop it, then you have to have an anti-communist stance. You have to point out all the flaws of communism rather than just being like, oh, well, because I'm sure the communists probably said this back in the day and in a lot of these, Marxist countries back in the day, more so authoritarian, but, it doesn't matter. It would be, oh, well, why don't you guys just focus on yourself and let us do our own thing? Well, it's because if you don't call out things that are wrong, then eventually those wrong things will become mainstream, and those mainstream things will start to affect your own life and your own society. So it's very important to talk about. It's like when you see political commentators, for example, if you go on any kind of Democrat channel or Republican channel, how often do they say, here's the 10 reasons why Republican values are the best. Here's the 10 reasons why Democrat values are the best. Nobody watches that shit, right? Because you talking about your opposition, you talking about the other side is what helps to give your side more legitimacy. You don't have an idea of what's good if you don't have an idea of what's bad. So that's why these channels, they'll, like a Republican, for example, someone like Ben Shapiro will be like, here's why AOC and all these liberals are idiots, And conversely, on the left, if you watch like the Young Turks or like Jimmy Dore or someone, they'll be like, here's why all Republicans are this, and that. They get more views, and it actually helps to establish their position of what they're fighting against and gives more of an idea of what they actually stand for when you have an opposition to compare it against, right? So the white pill is the same exact thing. The reason that it exists, the reason that we do these pills is because these other toxic pills exist that we need to actually be like, hey, you don't need to go down these paths. There's an alternative, which is the white pill. So it's very manosphere dependent.
Kevin with a long-winded answer. What are you sipping on that spoon? Creatine? No, it's kava. I'm quite fond of the drink.
Nice.
Now they don't respond to constant video and disrespect. Fuck out of here. Relaxation channel. I thought you were coming on. You're going to debate us. What happened, man? Your balls forgot to drop?
No, and also here's the reason that they don't respond is because they're scared.
Yeah,
because they respond to disrespect from women on their show, right? So why don't they platform guys who actually have a disagreement with them that they might lose a debate against? Because they're scared, because they're an ideology, and they don't actually want the truth. They just want you guys to keep simping for them, regardless of what they do, and pay for their new OnlyFans. Because they're a grift, and you're just falling right into it. Congratulations.
What advice would you give to someone who's legally blind? That's a good question. What do you think about that? Someone who's legally blind. That's a tough one.
And I have no idea, man. No, like my whole goal of my channel is to get guys in the top 20%. And I don't, if you can't even read my content, I don't know how to. Again, I'm not trying to like make fun of you or anything, because I genuinely don't know. I feel like for someone like that, you need an expert in outer game, someone like yourself.
Well, yeah, but I have no experience of I'm practically blind, but I'm not legally blind. Like my vision is super bad, but that's completely different than actually being blind. I know this may sound like kind of like a dumb answer, but I know like if you're not completely blind, there's a lot of surgeries and they might be expensive. But if I had any kind of severe problem like that, and there was any kind of operation that could fix it, no matter how expensive it is, I would do it. So if there was it costs $100,000, I would do it. So I would do anything to get my vision back, stem cells, whatever, experimental procedures. So I'd probably do all that. If it's really one of those things where nothing can be done, like no matter what the treatment is, and you've explored all the different countries, I'll probably obviously try to find a way to make the best of it. I just don't know, because I've never had that issue. So it would be disgenuine for me to try to like give you advice here. So I wish you the best, man. I just don't think I can help you, too well on that question.
Coach White Pill in the comments says, just listen to the White Pill podcast. Yeah, man, go do that. That's Coach White Pill and I's podcast. Subtle little plug there, but it's on Spotify, so you can just listen.
Question for Kevin: how sub-5 male can attract women?
Well, here's the thing. So the whole idea of sub-5 is very interesting to me, because it depends on how you rate the scale of 1 to 10. So I actually there's this black pill channel called Wee Waffles. He says on a scale of 1 to 10, you almost look at it like the seismic scale of earthquakes. So like the more you rise up, the more like of an effect it has. So like a 9.3 earthquake is like eons more effective than like an 8.5 earthquake, for example, right? That being the case, I think most guys think that they're sub-5s, but they're not. All right. But let's just say you are sub-5. Like if you're sub-5, you have to be like really objectively ugly, to the sense of like you actually have specific facial deformities that you have to point out. Because if you don't have that, then you're probably just average, which by definition would make you a 5, right? So that being the case, you should do some sort of looks maxing. I'm always about that. And one of the main problems I have with the lookism black pill community is that they don't acknowledge how much soft looks maxing, aka like going to the gym and whatnot and having the right hairstyle, how much of an effect that actually has. So for example, most of these guys who consider themselves sub-5 males, they are 20+% body fat. They have a lot of fat on their face, and therefore that's covering any kind of jawline they may or may not have. Like, they don't even know if they actually have.
You kind of froze there. They don't know what? Yeah, you kind of froze there for a second then. What? We're losing Kevin. Yo, buddy. Yeah, I can't hear anything. I think the internet connection or something.
Sorry, am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Sorry about that. Potato internet, bro. Okay, so what was I going to say? Okay, so most guys, unless you have been to a sub, I kid you not, it's this low, because some guys' genetics, they just hold a lot of fat in their face. I'm actually one of them, right? So unless you get really low body fat percentage, like in the single digit body fat where you have abs, right? You have very visible abs. Unless you have gotten to that point, you cannot bitch and complain about your looks, because you don't even like show, you can't possibly know what you actually look like here. Now there's objective things that don't change, like, you know, your orbital structures and whatnot, right? But even that can, like, your cheekbones and all those things can be more pronounced just by becoming leaner. Another thing as well is if you have like a fucking pencil neck, it gives you the illusion that you have no jaw as well. And your neck actually is one of the most hypersensitive toward hypertrophy training. So if you actually train your neck properly, there's actually, I wish I had pictures with me, but somewhere on my channel I have it, where you show supermodels going down like the catwalk or whatever, male supermodels, and then they Photoshop their neck to look smaller. All of a sudden they look like they lose like 2 or 3 points of an attractiveness. So there's things that are very much in your control, such as working out your neck, such as losing tons of body fat to bring your features out. Funny enough, when you do resistance training, you actually build up a lot of muscles in your face as well. Doing things like jaw exercise, those types of things are not really effective. But if you're able to, you know, it's like if you guys see like guys who take steroids, like their faces get bigger. Now that's on an extreme end, but if you're natural, your face is going to develop a lot more just by doing heavy training, right? If you can bench 300, squat, 400, deadlift 500, it's going to have effects on your face as well. So unless you have actually gym maxed, and none of these guys have, they just consider it a code because they haven't actually done it too much themselves. Or if they did, they didn't lose that much body fat or didn't work the right areas.
I would bet
you can't call yourself a sub-5.
Oppo A53s is not gym maxed. I almost, in the black pill, like, I do agree that you should always try to looks max, but in the black pill, they almost never actually have looks max themselves. They're almost, and usually whenever someone calls themselves a sub-5 male, what I found is they haven't really taken any action to maximize their looks. So my advice would be to stop being a sub-5 male. Look, if you're like 5'1" and deformed, you're kind of fucked. I'm not going to deny it. But most of these guys, they're not that. They're just like, a little ugly or a little chubby and shit. Like, there's things that are within their control they don't do. And I do agree that always focus on soft looks max first, which a lot of these guys haven't even done. So, I'll need to see a picture of this guy to give him like more specific advice. Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on. Myron asks his mods to ban anyone asking for Kevin Samuels to call into their show. There we go.
Wow.
Oh, this question we answered already. Black pillars will be put in the hate group. Black pillars will be put in the hate group category by the government in England because one black pill dude went to murderous rampage. What do you think about it? I mean, I think it sucks. I'm not a big fan of any of that shit. It's more like a political question, but yeah, I mean, this fucking sucks and stupid.
I'm actually having a video that I'm releasing tomorrow on the topic, and my take will actually probably surprise most of you guys on it. So, yeah, it's interesting, man. There's actually, I'm not going to say the name, but so Coach Whitepool and I were able to find this dude's channel, and a lot of guys who have actually commented on my channel were having a conversation back and forth on this dude's channel. Isn't that fucking crazy? So this dude also, again, I'm not going to reel too much here, but he follows many of the Manosphere guys, including Fresh and Fit, including Rolo. So I'll be doing a breakdown of him in the future, but Yeah.
I want
actually, you want to hear something crazy, Alex?
Mm-hmm.
One of the guys who's conversing with him back and forth on his YouTube channel is in your live chat right now. I'm not going to say who it is, but it's small world. Small world.
Okay. Yeah. Just answer the question. Why would Fresh and Fit look at your channel and think they're going to get a good and respectful debate? Well, let me think. Because every single other guest I've ever had on my channel, I've had a respectful debate with. So I would challenge you to find one guest I've ever had on who I was not respectful to during the debate. If you can do that, I will give you $10,000. Like, seriously, just try to find one example of a person who I've had on who I disagree with, who I was not respectful to. Just go ahead, really. Like, we're all waiting. We're going to do this for another half an hour, so please show us.
Do you guys honestly think that if Alex debated Myron, that Alex would be the disrespectful one?
Yeah,
like, are you fucking serious? like, have you not watched their show? Like, obviously, you're a fanboy of Fresh and Fit. Who do you think is the one that's going to start reacting emotionally when the other person starts making arguments that are hard to refute? Come on.
Any word on when the Instagram page will come back? Unfortunately, not. I mean, I really wanted to come back ASAP. It fucking sucks, but we've appealed it multiple times with Instagram. We're at a point we're going to pay like $500 to hire an outside service that's going to actually try to get our Instagram back. I don't know how like legit that is, but that's how desperate we are. So we're going to do everything we can on our end to get it back. But if it doesn't happen, we'll have to start over. But yeah, it fucking sucks. I don't know. I'm pretty pissed about it actually. Okay. How much of your frontal lobe is occupied by talking to women and staying sharp when an opportunity presents itself? I don't really understand the question.
Let me hold on. Let me break that down. How much of your frontal lobe? I think he's more specifically talking about the neocortex or the prefrontal cortex, which is where your kind of like your logical faculties are. So I'm trying to look at that. How much of your frontal by talking to women and staying sharp? Okay, so the issue is of staying sharp. See, here's the thing is, look, this is one of the actual big disagreements that I have with Rolo on, because he's objectively wrong based on the psychological literature, where he thinks that men are more rational than they are emotional. That is demonstrably false. Humans are way more emotional than they are logical, including men. The issue is okay, female brains and male brains are definitely different. It's more so both are emotional, but you rationalize your actions either through your logical faculties or through emotion, right? So men tend to, they tend to take a certain action and then they revert back and be like, okay, well, C just happened. So I wonder what A plus B was that caused C to happen. Meanwhile, women will be like, oh, well, how did this make me feel, right? Both sides are still more emotional. So if you start to be way too like front-brained about seduction in general, you're going to catastrophically fail, especially because you're trying to communicate with women who are, by definition, more emotional, right? So if you try to be too logical with women, to use your front brain too much, you're going to fail catastrophically. So that's my thoughts on that. I hope that made sense.
All right. I'm playing with fire. Here's some people you should try to get on your podcast: School of Attraction, Erica and Jill, and TripAdvice. I'm not familiar with the first two, but I'll definitely look into them. TripAdvice we've actually already had on. You just have to go back like 4 or 5 months. How you do live video without the echo in the background playing fire because you're using headphone? I'm using a Yeti external mic, so I think maybe that's doing the trick. I'm not too sure actually. I have my tech guy set all this up for me, so not sure. Okay, let's get some good question. What is your question, John Don? You keep saying that we missed it, but I don't really see the question. What do you think about Chris from Good Looking Loser? I like him. I mean, he's mostly like focused on kratom and stuff, which I'm a big proponent of. But I like him. I would love to get him on for a podcast. Are you familiar with this guy?
Yeah, I saw him on More Plates, More Dates podcast. Seems like a very interesting guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Covering a variety of topics. So I don't know enough about him, but he seems like I always appreciate guys who think outside of the box, and it seems like he really does for a bunch of different things. So
I mean, he's like a big. He runs a kratom company, which is pretty interesting.
Oh wow, okay.
I would say the quality of their kratom is actually not the best, to be honest. Like there's some companies who are doing better now, but he's doing his thing.
I've never actually taken that supplement. I hear good things. I hear mixed things about it. I've heard sometimes you have to you can get addicted to it. I think you can have to detox from it. I don't really know, but
yeah.
it'd be a good thing to look into.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole different spiel. I mean, we can, if you guys are really interested, I can give you like my 2 cents on kratom, but that's like pretty off topic. We can talk about offline. How tall is Alex? I'm 5'11". Go along with that Ben Shapiro. He fully spends all his ideas. Okay. How is game in Japan? You can answer this question, I think.
So I don't know because I actually haven't been there that much as an adult. That's all I gotta say about that. Actually, Coach Whitepill has been there as an adult, I guess. So from my understanding, just in general, I'll tell you a little bit about Japanese culture. I'll be very brief with it, but basically, Japan, they're very respectful toward Western cultures, but they very much like to have their distinct Japanese culture. So it's very looked down upon for the most part for Japanese girls to be dating foreign guys. But that being the case, Japan, Tokyo especially, is one of the most populous cities in the world. Any Japanese girl that likes white guys is going to either be living in Okinawa, where there's a huge U.S. military base. If you have any servicemen that served in Japan, they've been in Okinawa. So there's a lot of white guy chaser Japanese girls there. And then also in Tokyo. So again, I think we talked about this when you were on my channel, Alex, but just by the very fact of just demographics, you can see a lot of success there just because there's an absolute amount of a lot of Japanese girls, even though relatively speaking, you approach some Japanese girl on the street just from a conservative, because it's a very conservative country, you might not see that much success. And the biggest barrier you'll have is a language barrier. Japanese people are very bad at English. So yeah.
Yeah, I would love to go to Japan and get me a big titty Japanese girl, like a unicorn. Alex, did Nelly send an apology or something? Nope, no apology, but it's okay.
That's a shame, man.
Yeah.
Your guys' discussion seemed pretty cordial, even though you guys had disagreements.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. I would have loved to reach out to her to collab with her or something, but there ain't no way in fuck I'm doing that now. I don't want to get canceled.
Alex, I messaged one of my guys to help you get your IG account. Thank you. Much appreciated. Let's talk about that offline. Yeah, much appreciated, man. Okay.
Spilled a bunch of water like an idiot.
Oh, you're good. I want to get to like.
Oh, well, that's fine. It's water. All right.
Yeah. Alex, you talk a lot about game being the other side of the coin, but you don't go in depth to SMV. Yeah, you're right. I don't go in depth on it as nearly as much as I do about game, but I feel like there's not as much to cover when it comes to sexual market value. To be honest, I feel like game is more complex than sexual market value. Honestly, I'll quickly go into it right now, and maybe Kevin can comment after that. But SMV really will boil down to one. Getting in as good of shape as possible, getting to single digits body fat, what Kevin was talking about before. You kind of two, getting like a good haircut so you can see like I have a little bit of a receding hairline, right? But like with a skin fade, like it's pretty kind of well hidden, right? So doing that, you can see my beard is just like well lined up. Everything's just fresh, right? Like my face looks good. I'm well hydrated, so I just have like good skin tone, right? I also take a lot of vitamins. I'm in good shape. I have a 6-pack. Dressing well, I wear shirts that like fit you well, right? Like the shirt isn't too loose on me. But yeah, I mean, things like that, you can take it one step further. You can get elevator shoes if you're a bit on the shorter side. And there's a bunch of other things you can do.
That's more like the looks matching aspect, which is definitely part of SMV. The way that Coach Whitepill and I like to define it is game is kind of so that you have an objective SMV, right? Because you can break it down with like, okay, your finances, your status, your height, your looks. And then game is kind of like the amplifier where it says, okay, and again, this is where, you could defer a bit on theories. I think looks matter way more than most even like red pillars or pickup artists think. I put it on I am a fitness coach at the end of the day. So obviously I put a lot of emphasis on it, a lot more, but game kind of amplifies those SMV qualities to give you a perceived SMV that's higher. So if you have an objective SMV that's like, I don't know, like a 7 out of 10, right? Which is pretty good, but you have like crazy amounts of game, like you're one of the best in the world, then that could amplify your perceived SMV to like a 10. And then basically at that point you can game almost, any woman, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that, for example, let's say you're really good looking, you're 9, but you have no game, you're still gonna like repel a lot of girls despite being good looking once you open your mouth. And I've seen that firsthand. So I just see them as both as like equally. I don't know. I don't see one as more or less important than the other. I just see them both. It's like what's more important to a car, the engine or the tires? It's they're both important. Like you can't. We can debate which one is more important, but if you don't have the tires, the car's not going to drive. If you don't have the engine, the car's not going to drive. And I see it almost like that. If you're ugly as fuck, then the girl's not going to bang you. And if you're repulsive and you smell, and if you have no game, then the girl's not going to bang you. So it's kind
And
of
here's another good analogy. I'll wrap this up in a second because I was talking to Coach Whitefield about this yesterday. So if you imagine it like basketball, right? Imagine that offense is game and defense is your looks, right? If you want to be the best basketball team, you need to have a good offense and defense. But sometimes your offense can be so good, even if your defense sucks, that you end up winning some games. And sometimes your defense can be so good, but your offense is really good, but that you end up winning some games as well. So you can supplant basketball with football, and football makes more sense. But basically, you can be really overpowered in one aspect and underpowered in another and still end up seeing success. But ideally, you want to be more well-balanced.
Mm-hmm. Thoughts on Richard Cooper? Total scammer, in my opinion. No game, kind of a pussy, afraid to debate. He's the only guest in the history of the Playing with Fire podcast that bailed last minute. So, yeah, I don't really have much respect for the guy, to be honest.
You know what's interesting? I have an interesting take on him because, so first of all, one of my clients read his Unplugged Alpha book and actually said it was really good. It's kind of like The Rational Male, except with a lot less like unnecessary BS tied in there. The issue is like, okay, so I like his overall sentiment and message because he has a catchphrase of saying like, do the work, which I totally agree with. The issue is like, you look at his Twitter and you look at his content, he dives into that rage bait shit of like, oh, all women are this, and that. You see just what he reveals about his personal life. He doesn't really follow his own advice. So I actually don't think he's like an indignant super beta male like Myron is, for example. I just think he's a grifter, honestly. I just think he's in it for the money and that's it. And I think he'll do whatever he needs to get money. So
that's what Anthony Johnson told me, is that he's like obsessed with money.
Yeah. I mean, he's always showing off his cars and stuff, which again, like, dude, if you love cars and you have the money for it, go for it, man. Like that's awesome. Good for you. But I can't really trust you as a leader in how to become a high quality man in the 21st century if you're only really motivated by money. Again, I apologize if I'm mischaracterizing him, but
no, I think you're spot on. That's what Anthony Johnson worked with him directly, and that's what he told me. So Anthony was telling me that, and this is all public record, that initially 21 Convention was Rollo, what's his name, Anthony Johnson, and Richard Cooper. And that Rollo was plotting of kicking, they were all like 30, whatever. They all had 1/3 of the company. And that Rollo was plotting with Richard to kick Anthony out. So have Richard buy Anthony out, and then they would basically run the company. And then apparently Anthony saw through this. He was like, oh, well, Richard loves money, so I'll just offer him more money than Rollo would. And then Rollo was like, no. And then the way Anthony was describing it to me was really funny. Hey, Richard, you like money, right? I got money. Can I buy your part of the company? I got money. You like money? Yeah, sure. Okay. Fuck you, Rollo.
Wow.
To the company.
Dude, that actually just goes to show me that Rollo is even more of a cuck and a beta male than I thought. Holy shit, that he just took that because he still collabs with Richard Cooper. So Rich Cooper basically just completely threw him under the bus, and then he's still, wow. I mean, if one of my friends did that to me, man, you'd be dead to me, honestly. Like how could you possibly tolerate? That's why it's a grift, man. Because I'm sure Rollo put it in his head. He's like, well, Rich Cooper's more popular than me, and he shills for the Rational Male all the time. So even though he screwed me over, I'm still gonna simp for him and support him. Like, wow. These are the manosphere guys. These are the guys that are teaching you how to be a high value male, guys.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Guys who do shit like that.
I'd like to hear your thoughts on Kratom, Alex. I like Kratom much too. Thanks for the answer. I'm a good looking loser, by the way. Yeah, so I mean, I'm a big fan of Kratom. I take it only in the evening. So I'm trying to think of how to explain this. Well, first let me start off. What is Kratom? Kratom is a plant. It has some opiate-like properties. A lot of people who are getting off like painkillers, for example, they'll take Kratom. But if you get the dose right on kratom, it can have energizing, uplifting effects. So for me, kratom, if I get the dose right, it makes me very creative. I can get a lot of work done. I come up with a lot of good ideas. It's like almost like a natural version of Adderall. Like that's the best way I can explain it. Also, another really cool benefit of kratom is it makes you last forever in bed. So if you are, if you come in like 5-10 minutes with kratom, you can go for hours. And it takes away pain. So if you're working out with kratom, you can push through your plateaus. So it has a lot of advantages, and I'm sure I'm just naming ones off the top of my head. Helps with sleep, helps with a lot of things. It can be a bit addictive, so there's definitely some rules that if you are going to take kratom regularly, you need to follow. And a lot of the stuff that I'm saying is actually, I'll give Good Looking Loser credit because I got it from him. One is you want to rotate strains, so you don't want to take the same strain every day. Two is you want to do a day off like once a week or something like that. I try to do that. Three, you don't want to be taking it all the time. Like, for example, make a rule. Like, I only take it in the evenings. I only take it in the afternoons. So, yeah, I personally only take it in the evenings. I try to do one day off a week. And, yeah, that's basically definitely helps me with a lot of things. But, yeah, I mean, in terms of long-term effects, I don't really know too much. And I'm sure there's some detrimental things to doing it, too much. Okay, moving on. What would be your top 3 tips or methods to use in college? What do you think, Kevin?
Well, I didn't go to college, so I can't really help you on that. Now, that being said, I will tell you one thing that worked magically for me. I feel like it would only work with college students, so I went to this frat party in Philly, in University City. I think I was 22 or 23 at the time. And this is like really basic, like pickup stuff, being like the mysterious guy or whatever. But I think especially with like younger girls, maybe, I don't know, they just love it. So I just went around the party and I was like, oh, hey, what's your name? Just, normal introduction, whatever. And then they would ask about me and ask my name. I'd be like, oh, I can't tell you that. Sorry. And I'll just walk away. It's so stupid. It's like, it's the gamiest shit ever. But for some reason in colleges, for me, it really worked. And then you were like, I was just like the star of the party. And then, I had a girl in like her brother's bed. And then I had like 30 minutes later, I was choosing between this like cheerleader girl and like this other girl as well. And then I went back to their place. Like, and that was all from me just refusing to say who I am. So like really gamey shit. So I have a feeling like, people talk about things like mystery method and that type of stuff, like the really like gamey stuff being outdated. I have a feeling in college it'll be a lot more effective. I could be wrong. I don't know. Again, I have a very limited experience within college. I only know like college parties that I got invited to, and I haven't been to one in like 5 years because that was a while ago. So, but I never actually went to college, so I can't really weigh in too much.
All right, let me kind of give my 2 cents. So I actually did go to college. I wasn't that good with chicks back then, but some of the things I picked up on, because when I got into game, I started going to college parties. So between the age of 22 and 25, I went to college parties as well. I would actually be down to go back to one, like, just fucking shave off my facial hair so I don't look that old. The biggest thing with college is probably social status. So if your goal is to maximize the amount of girls you get in college, join a fraternity, join one of the popular frats. That'll be like a massive cheat code. If you don't want to do that, join some of the clubs in college, like whatever. I was on the snowboarding team, right? I was like 50% girls. I met chicks through that. Whatever, like any clubs that, or something that you're interested in. Frats are probably going to be better. So it's a lot of social circle stuff, going to the parties, being connected. At the party's pretty easy. Just literally just base a game. Hey, hi, blah, blah, blah. Oh, cool. Want to be my beer pong partner? Oh, cool. Play around of beer pong with her. You're fucking hot. Start making out with her. Take her to the bathroom, have sex. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You really don't need that much game at like a college party.
Yeah. Yeah, back when I went to college parties too, like just for fun, I really didn't study game or anything at all. And it was still like shooting fish in a barrel. So like, yeah.
Alex, what do you think of John Anthony Lifestyle's text game? To be honest, I found your product way more effective than Corona Pickup. Your style is less plug and play, but more calibrated and effective. We just have different styles. I mean, I'm not going to like shit on his at all. I think, what he does is effective and gets people results, so we just have different styles, different approaches. We do a lot of also the same things as well. So there's definitely some overlap. But overall, I think it's definitely pretty good. It's just different than what I do to some extent. Okay. Rich Cooper's wife looks like Jabba the Hutt, no pun. Richard Cooper, don't date single moms who date single moms. Yeah. Okay, what else we got? Okay, let me take this question. The problem is this app is like kind of laggy, so it keeps like fucking bumping me. What type of kratom Alex lasts longer? Honestly, all of them. It really doesn't matter. I like the green and the white because it gives me more energy, but any one of them will do the trick.
I don't know if you saw, somebody just sent you like a fresh and fit size super chat.
Oh shit! Let's take a look. Oh shit, 100.
$100 hairs, bro.
Oh, it's Mexican though. MX.
Oh.
So is that like $1 American?
Okay, yeah. I was like, damn. All right. How much is 100 Mexican dollars?
It's like 2 cents USD. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I appreciate it anyway. TJ, advice for your fatter clients: been losing 2 pounds a week for 7 weeks. At that rate, it'll take me 1 year to hit a normal weight, 200 pounds, and secure a body gain objective purely based on work. Been losing 2 pounds a week for 7 weeks. That's 2 pounds a week is pretty decent. I mean, you don't want to lose weight too fast because then you're going to have the folds, right? So you got to do it in a slow controlled manner. I don't recommend like the super ultra fast. I think 2 pounds a week is at that age. It'll take me 1 year to look normal. Yeah, it's a bit a lot. You could do it faster and then just do the surgery to get rid of the folds. But if you do it fast, you are going to have the folds.
So really quickly, a lot of it depends on how much weight you have to lose. And there's different styles of going at this because the number one thing, all of the best fitness coaches will give this as the number one thing is what makes, it might sound obvious on the surface, but it's important to keep in mind, right? The most effective diet is the one that you can adhere to. And in my experience, because I've trained hundreds of people, doing the slow approach works for some people, but doesn't for others. For other people, there's different strategies you can use, such as a strategy I like to call intermittent dieting, which is a little bit different from intermittent fasting, where basically during times where you're super motivated, you just fucking go in a huge caloric deficit. The only way that will actually negatively affect your metabolism is if you don't do a refeed. So typically what I do actually when I'm dieting intensely is I will diet really hard for 3 weeks, and then I'll do a 1 week diet break where I am actually eating pretty normally at maintenance calories. And then that way it kind of resets my metabolism a bit and ensures that my metabolism doesn't degrade over time. And then I repeat the process. That's one way of doing it. It's not for everybody, but I notice typically if your motivation is really high, I want to take full advantage of that. So that's always something that I've done with my clients. Again, it's a different strategy, but just something to keep in mind. And the more obese you are, like if you're like morbidly obese, like if you're 300 pounds plus, you can be much more aggressive with your diet and not have to worry about your metabolism until you get to a lower body fat percentage. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing I will add is you can consider is the carnivore diet. I did the carnivore diet for 9 months. My goal was not to lose weight, but I lost a shitload of weight. I had to do like 4 pounds of beef every day just not to lose mass. So and you see carnivore diet, a lot of people are using it to lose weight. So that could be a big one. Like look into that, carnivore diet, losing weight. There's like, a whole community based around that, and just, look into it yourself. Like I feel weird giving people like in-depth medical advice because, who the fuck am I? So like, I'd rather just have you like kind of do your own research on that. But I think that could be something that could potentially be, beneficial in addition to what Kevin said, in addition to like doing fast and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of things you can do. Yeah.
So I'll give one more take on that because you are right on that. It's not necessarily, and I used to be a certified nutritionist, guys. I let my thing expire a while ago, but but anyway, I still have the knowledge. So one thing that you want to keep in mind with the carnivore diet, what's so great about it is that you have heavy amounts of protein. Protein is extremely thermogenic, where it has a thermic effect where actually, a gram of protein is 4 calories, right? But with the amount of work that your body needs to take to digest it, it ends up being net calories about 3, right? So almost 25% of the calories that you take in from protein, just from the energy it takes to digest it, you already burn a lot of calories, which is what makes it so effective and great. The issue is if you eat too much meat, a lot of it has fat as well. And fat has 9 calories per gram. And it's the least thermogenic, and it's the most easily stored as body fat. But at the end of the day, it is calories in, calories out, and eating a lot of meat helps to satiate you, fill up your stomach, feel like you ate a lot of food while minimizing calories. So there's a lot of effectiveness to it. I will say though, if you have, especially if you're a bit older, maybe in your 40s or up, you want to make sure that you are consulting with a doctor in terms of making sure that your blood work and all those things are in check. Because actually what happens a lot with carnivore diets is your total testosterone will actually go up, but your free testosterone, which is the important aspect of testosterone that actually gives you androgenic effects and makes you feel good and makes you horny and all that type of stuff, it could go down when you have what's it called? When you do a carnivore diet. That's a lot more sciencey stuff, but yeah. So I hope that suffices. I think that's a good advice, Alex, to try a carnivore diet. Just consult with your doctor, though.
Next question, Alex. Have you tried mushrooms? I have many times. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of psychedelics, believe it or not, for a variety of reasons. That would be we'd have to like explore my psyche in order for me to like kind of explain that. But I'm not the biggest fan of psychedelics, but I've tried most of them. I haven't tried. I've tried the acid. I've done shrooms. I've done TCB. I've done DMT. DMT is actually pretty cool. I would do that again. The only one I haven't tried is ayahuasca, and I've never tried peyote. I went through
when I was younger, acid and DMT as well.
Yeah, I've done acid and DMT. Yeah, when I was younger, actually, it's a funny little side story. I was like 22. I just graduated from college. I was living at home for a year, and one of my closest friends growing up was like a massive drug dealer. But he wasn't like a shady drug dealer. Like he would sell like cool drugs, like psychedelics and stuff. He was like selling DMT and like whatever, like shit like that. It wasn't like crack or anything. And I would just go over his house every day, and he'd be like, "Yo, I got this new drug that they just invented, this new smart drug. Let's try it." I'd be like, "All right." So like during a year, I tried like every type of psychedelic and whatever, a lot of shit that most people haven't even heard of. It was interesting. I'm not that big on drugs anymore, and just mainly stick to like kratom, kava. Try to keep it pretty healthy. All right, so the relaxation channel. Yes or no question. Are you going to come on and debate us? Yes or no? No more side tangents. No more counter arguments. No more bitching about 30 videos or this or that. No more simping in the comments.
So he actually sent a super chat. I don't know if you see it.
Did he?
For $5? Yeah. So that's the most recent thing he said. Because it contradicts a little bit of what.
I agree with 60% what they say, but I'm not here to make 9 videos on how lame they are. If they are lame, bro, move on. This isn't being productive. So we want to have a productive conversation with you, the Relaxation Channel. So that's why we are inviting you to come on our platform. And this is not something I do often ever. I don't ever actually have like random people in the audience on, and you can actually logically make points why we are incorrect. So that is an invite that I'm going to extend to you. All I want in the comments is simple. Yes, I am down, or no, I do not want to do it. That's it. All right, let's see what else we got. Yeah, it's pretty funny, like how like you like these guys that like defend Fresh and Fit to death, but they never want to come on like actually like make logical points, man.
And there's shit talkers behind the screen. I did have one guy on my stream yesterday that came on to debate me a little bit. And I'll be honest, I was kind of a dick to him in the comments because he was pissing me off. But then we had a pretty good discussion. I mean, he was dead wrong. He was like demonstrably wrong because he actually thought I gave a clear example of a bait and switch, and he's like, it's not a bait and switch. And then even the comment section who are Fresh and Fit fans were like, yeah, this guy's wrong. So, but still, I mean, shout out to him. I forgot his name, but shout out to him for actually coming on and, having the balls to actually talk, you know what I mean? Even though we have a disagreement. Well, I will always respect guys who come on and talk, and no matter how much.
Does my camera have to be on? If yes, wait, does my have to be on?
If yes.
Wait, I think he means if no.
Oh, okay.
If yes, no, come on. No, we want you to keep your camera off. Like,
yeah, I mean, we don't.
What's
you don't need to have your camera on. I mean, it's Alex's channel, but I'm pretty sure
if you want, I'll respect that. If you want to stay anonymous, you can keep your camera off. If no, okay, yeah, he corrected himself. Yeah, that's fine, man. It's not a big deal. Yeah, let's do it. So how do we do this? I've never actually done this before. I just PM in the StreamYard link.
Yeah, I mean, typically what I do, maybe this is like shooting yourself in the foot, but I typically put it in the chat and then I only accept because sometimes random people will try to join. Because when I do it, I open up for everybody, right? And I only do one at a time. But typically, I'll just delete the people who weren't invited to join, and then I'll only let on the person who did
Okay,
join. So I'll confirm first because their username will come up.
Let's do it that way. All right, bear with me for a second, guys. It's gonna be fun. I just need to get the link.
I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick. All right, I'll be right back.
All right, cool. Go for it. Dude, no one's gonna. Yeah, you can keep your camera up, but no one's gonna attack you. Like that's not like our style at all. Like even if you're gonna be a major dick, I'm still not gonna like have my fans attack you. So, yeah, you're good, man. But you can keep your camera off. That's fine. All right, let me just copy and paste this here. Okay. All right. So just click on this link. The relaxation channel. We're definitely going to need to get a name for you because I can't keep calling you the relaxation channel. Click on this link and then we'll add you. Just turn your camera off, I guess. Actually, give me a second as well. I'm going to grab some water and shit. So, yeah, just log on there. We'll add you to the stream. Guys, just give us 2 minutes. Kevin's going to return from the bathroom and get some water and shit, and then we'll make this juicy.
Okay. I am back, but it looks like Alex is gone.
I'm here. Nope.
Okay.
Okay. We got respectful debate. All right, yo, relaxation channel. Is your thing respectful debate? Yeah, guys, don't just one thing I asked, don't be lame. Like, don't like try to like, I don't know, show your dicks or something on camera. Because I know that's something that happens when you, that's what Afi Kingdom told me. So don't do that shit. Like, just have like a normal discussion. Like, don't be fucking weird.
Again, the whole point of this is to have, again, rational discussion, not get emotional.
We got Austin Summers in the comment. I don't know if that's really Austin Summers or not. Austin is my buddy, but yeah. So I need you, relaxation channel. I need you to write in the comments what is your username because we have a bunch of people who are trying to join right now, and I need you to say what your username is on the thing. So we're gonna wait for that.
Yeah, this typically happens. Random people will try to join in.
Yeah, I'll have to like think about this, but in the future I'll have to think of some better way to do this. Because even worse would be.
I mean, maybe you could email, like if they say, like, "Hey, drop your email in the chat," and then you can email them really quick.
Relaxation said his thing is James. We don't see you, man. I see someone called Respectful Debate. I don't see a James.
That's the actual name is Respectful Debate, huh? Yeah, we said Respectful Debate is him?
Well, we got James now. Okay, we got James. All right, let's add him.
Oh, okay.
What's up, buddy?
Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going, man? So I'll start off by giving you props for coming on. I actually didn't think you were going to do it, so I'll give props where props is due.
Respect.
Yeah, so I'm going to explain my stance first before I like get into ranting, but I understand where you're coming from because when I first started watching their content, I didn't think these guys really are smashing the assortment of bitches that they claim to be. Mm-hmm. But I take their content with a grain of salt. I just don't think that the most productive way of like dissecting their content is called them cappers, or it's basically like, aggravational terms. I know it's emotional. They preach about don't get emotional, even though Myron has showed many times of getting emotional, a little bit too angry at times. But I would say that if you would like want it to get into a more respectful debate, it will be better to like dissect the quality, but keep it a little bit respectful. I understand Alex is not really attacking one, but Kevin Ray Water, you can kind of see that you dislike them. And I understand it because they don't seem like they smashed one. Like Fresh, there's no way on this planet Earth he's smashing 1,000 bitches. That's complete cap. And he said he lasts for hours. I just don't believe. I just take the content with a grain of salt. They do. Well, I watch them like every other week. Well, they will bring, not most of the time it's OnlyFans girls, but they will bring other people like, married women, or they will bring a cop or something like that. But to me, you don't take what they say real seriously, as in going out to in online or going into the real world and saying fuck bitches or you must bow down to me, shit like that. But you have to like be kind of nonchalant about it. So I don't agree. I'll agree with like 60% of what they say. Women, for the most part, are kind of entitled, but we just have to take it with a grain of salt. I mean, it makes sense. They will want the best person, but I'm not here to believe that they like the things that they say, like they smashing or their game, as in like the way they talk to women. I don't agree with it per se, but you have to, actually have boundaries, or you don't allow them to shame you for your boundaries or call you a misogynist or call you anything else if you have like a specific set boundary. Like if a woman, I did comment on your channel, that you did a second in the misogynist stream. I was saying that because did you see it? I had responded to you. It was I don't know how long ago it was, but you said
to who,
that,
James? To me or to Kevin?
No, to Alex. You was dissecting when that redhead chick came to their stream and said that they were misogynists. Yeah, Myron was dodging the question a little bit, and you can see it. But for the most part, I understand where both of you were coming from. Of course, that's some real sissy shit to like get mad that you don't want to fucking call another girl. I mean, just kick her out if that's what you're really down to do. But kind of can't see where women will, they'll let you take them on 4 dates. They'll act like they're down for it, down to DTF, right? And then they go to your apartment and they don't do nothing at all. They just, that's just my stance on it. I just don't agree with like making multiple videos of constant, I don't say bash because like people have criticism about things every day. There's no way someone can agree with 100% of what they say. Even Fresh doesn't agree with everything that Myron says, but you have to take the content with a grain of salt. I don't think.
Okay.
Let me just dissect what James said. So, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, James, that you are agreeing with what we're saying, but you're disagreeing with the approach that Kevin is taking specifically. So you agree with what Kevin says, but you disagree with his approach, which is fine. You're entitled. That's your right to have that opinion. It also sounds like another thing that you're saying is that you filter their content through a grain of salt. So you have the self-awareness and the social skills to be able to discern between what they're saying is legit and what is bullshit, right? Correct. And that's good. That's awesome that you have that. But can you also recognize that a lot of their viewers don't have the same kind of social awareness that you do, and they're not going to be able to look at it through that same lens? Oh, yeah, he's just kind of exaggerating right now. They're going to take everything they say literally, and they're going to go out there and they're going to try some of the shit, and they're going to want to fucking themselves over. Yeah. So does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I understand that completely. Like on Fresh just posted a new vlog where he says don't leave with his wallet, but then he has women all over his McLaren all the time, right? And then during the vlog, he had some supporters that came up because he went to a little car show, and it was like they said they watched their content religiously, and it was the most unfit, ugly. Like it doesn't seem like those men that watch their content will take their advice and go out and have the most successful thing. The people that watch their content don't actually practice what they preach. That's what I'm saying. Like they're usually overweight or a little bit, angry at women. But you can't agree that some of the things that they're saying are true. Yeah, no one should. I'm not condoning anyone to agree with their content 100% because there's no way they speak complete facts, but they have some truth in what they're saying.
Sure. Sure, and I've always given them that. They definitely have. I've always said I agree with about, you and I are pretty much similar. I always said I agree with about 50% of what they say. 50 and 60% are pretty similar. At the end of the day, we're disagreeing about scraps. So given that you just mentioned that, that there's a lot of hypocrisy there. There's a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of them saying one thing and doing another. What do you see as so problematic about Kevin making constant videos, breaking this down? Because initially, I almost would agree with you. I was like, okay, like how many videos can we make, calling these guys out? But if every week they're doing new shit that's hypocritical, like we do have to address it, right? I mean, we can't just ignore, we can't just call them out once. And when I say call out, I mean respectfully, and then just ignore all the other shit they do in the future.
Yeah. See, yeah, that your point makes a lot of sense. Like, there's no way we can still let them continue with this bullshit that they're really I just don't understand how anyone with an actually functioning brain can watch their content and look, oh, they smash 1,000 bitches every day. Doesn't matter. He lasts 3 hours. There's no way. But
But believe it or not, like half their audience does.
I
Like,
know that they were just kind of funny to me. There's no way they come on now. Even the most good looking men, they don't be smashing 1,000 inches a week. That's
right.
cap. So yeah, I understand that. But
it sounds like, James, it sounds like honestly you agree with us pretty much on everything. You just maybe don't like the style that Kevin has, but aside from that, it sounds like we're pretty much
no one should take bro. It's kind of hilarious if people really religiously watch their content and think that they're what? Oh, they're speaking.
I mean, dude, if they preface all their episodes by saying, "Hey, we are going to exaggerate heavily on the show, and you guys should not take what we say seriously," then there would be no need to do roast videos because they admit it themselves. But they're not doing that. They're presenting themselves like, look, if you go to a doctor and your doctor says to you, "Hey, listen, I got this new pill that's going to cure your problem in 1 week," and then you take the pill, you pay a lot of money for it, and you don't get better. He's like, "Oh, you took me seriously, dude? Like, why did you take me seriously? Come on!" You're like, that sounds like you're like, dude, because you're a doctor. Because you didn't tell me that this was a joke. And yeah, of course, you have the self-awareness. I have the self-awareness. Kevin has the self-awareness. Most of the girls I know have the self-awareness. But a lot of these guys, they're very frustrated. They're very unsuccessful. They don't have the self-awareness to discern between the bullshit and the non-bullshit. So people are saying let Kevin speak. So let me shut up now.
No, it's fine. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. It's like, look, if my style of videos isn't for you, then that's fine. I like to be entertaining with it. If I'm just like, here are the 3 reasons why Fresh and Fit is wrong. Reason number 1, guys, I'm not trying to, like part of what I try to keep it, entertaining for people to watch as well. But then also when I make descriptive claims, especially when I start making fun of them, it's always in relation to their advice, right?
Yeah, I understand.
Like if you point out parts to me where I'm like a dick to them, like, and I will acknowledge that I am, but it's not tied into a grander narrative of me trying to say, hey, here's why they're wrong, then please let me know, because then obviously I want to correct that, and that's wrong of me. I have no doubt maybe there were 1 or 2 times that I did that, but again, and I'll admit that I probably shouldn't do that, but at the same time, there's certain approaches to everything. So it's like, so for example, right, if you think of like comedy shows like the what is it? What was Jon Stewart's show? I can't even. The Daily Show. The Daily Show, or like Real Time with Bill Maher, right? They will.
Maher.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of what you could think of these guys individually, they will, take something and then they'll make jokes out of it. And they'll make fun of the guys, but then they'll also have a grander point that they're trying to make. You know what I mean? So I do the same exact thing with them. And I even said this on my channel myself, because Myron basically made something implying like, oh, if I ever met any of my haters in the street, like they wouldn't say this shit to me. I was like, yeah, I actually would say all the shit that I would say to you directly to your face, but I would say it in a nice, respectful manner, right? I'll be like, Myron, I know you know who I am, and I think that we should have a debate and discussion about this. Are you open to that? And I'm sure with him, he'll be like, blah, 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 get this guy out of here. No oxygen, blah,
Yeah.
But at the same time, look, the whole entire point is like, look, if we're sitting down face to face, man to man, yeah, I'm going to have a rational, calm discussion with you. Unless you try to elevate things and get violent, then I will do the same back to you. You know what I mean? But like, if you're actually trying to seek the truth, you're trying to do that. And I even said in my videos myself, I said, look, we will have because I think one of the reasons, honestly, well, first of all, the main reason that he would never want to debate me is because he thinks that he'll lose, right? But the second main reason is because, especially with the Anna Quinn fitness situation and that types of stuff, I think he's afraid that he's going to get into legal trouble if there's more light shown on that. I'm willing to extend an olive branch and tell him, look, I'm not even going to mention any of the technically legal things that you can get in trouble for. I'm willing to just debate theory, because I think you're dead wrong on a lot of theory. You're right on a lot of theory. Your descriptions a lot of them are correct, but your prescriptions come from a beta male mindset, therefore make it non-effective, right? I'm willing to debate him on just that alone. And that is clearly just a rational discussion, but do you honestly think he's going to do that? Like, even if I was a super popular YouTuber, right? Which, I'm not, I have 5,000 subscribers. I'm working on it. But let's say I had tons of clout. I had hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I still guarantee you he would not platform me and have a discussion. He's not going to debate people that he thinks he might lose against, or people who genuinely have actual disagreements with him from the jump. Obviously, if he has people on their show and they disagree with him while they're on their show, then that's one thing. So, for example, he had Abba and Preach on.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Yeah, Abba and Preach disagreed with them on their show, and then now, pretty recently, Abba and Preach came out with a video of them kind of trying to distance themselves from Fresh and Fit because, Abba especially is a really smart guy, and I think he sees the writing on the wall of like, hey, man, these guys are really pushing the limits in their own personal lives, especially now they're promoting basically their own form of OnlyFans and stuff. We don't want to be associated with them. We're going to have to start distancing ourselves from them. That's the vibe that I got from them. So yeah, they're willing to have disagreements on their show if they're put on the spot, but they're not going to platform somebody from the jump who disagrees with them and actually have a debate with them. Because, I mean, first of all, why should they? From their standpoint, I get it. It's like, look, they're seeing a lot of success by only platforming people that agree with them and only doing what works for them. Why would they change the status quo? I understand it. It just makes you a hypocrite if the entire ethos of your show is to be an alpha male, because it's a beta male mentality to run away from conflict.
Yeah, when I was like previously watching this thing, Myron says that everyone can't be alpha. He understands that, but like there's some things that you can have set in life that will make your overall grand experience of life a little bit better. And from the way I'm seeing it from the Fresh and Fit like perspective, like if I had someone to say that they exposed me, right, and they go to people that literally hate me, that want to expose screenshots, I wouldn't really want to bring them on the channel. It's just my opinion. I know my opinion isn't fact, but I'm just saying, like, if I was to go look at your channel, right, and I see the constant expose or their cap or the line or the heavy disagreement, I mean, I wouldn't see the point in like really debating you on it if you're just gonna disagree. Because people, like for example, Zuby went on their channel recently, right? He said that a lot of high value men just clap girls all day, every day, and he said that he doesn't do that modern shit. And Myron said, okay, that's fine, but some men, there's a lot of the way that Myron does it, he's too overgeneralizes, like too far. He says that a lot of like high value men, or like let's say men with lots of money, just clap girls just for the fun of it, and that really isn't true, because there's no way someone's clapping girls off 80 years of their life just to clap them and never settle down with one woman and still go have. It's just, I would say
I'm a bit confused. So if you said did you say what's the point of debate if you guys are just going to disagree?
No, I actually understood James's question. So what he was saying was not question but point. He was saying that, well, why would he have you on if he was to just like, without actually deep diving into your content, he just looks at your channel and he's like, oh, this guy really hates me. Why would I have him on? So, okay, that's actually a fair point. So let me give a counter argument by saying, okay, what about my channel then? One, I have a decent following. Two, I know Myron personally. I knew them before Fresh and Fit was even a thing. I've gone out with Myron. I've, I gave him a lot of, actually tips about his podcast and all that shit. When they were blowing up, I was actually the one that was like, giving them the heads up, saying, yo, man, you're doing good. 5K, 10K, like, good job. So, again, that's because I knew him in real life. And even though I disagreed with his content, I respected the hustle. And for a while, actually, not a lot of people know this, before they were a thing, Myron was always asking me if you could come on and do a live stream with me. And what I told him multiple times, like, yo, dude, like, you're a buddy of mine, but, I'm not like a close buddy, but like an acquaintance, whatever. I'm like, but, I can't have you on yet because you don't have a following at all. So let's wait until you start your channel, because I knew he was going to start his channel. Let's wait until you get like 2, 3, 4,000 subscribers. Let's have you on and do a collab, right? And he's like, okay, man, that's fine. I understand that. As soon as they start and as soon as their channel gets off, no longer do they want to do a debate. No longer do they want to do a collab, right? So it's kind of like the hypocrisy there is just insane. Like, there's just zero chance they'll ever debate me. It's just, and like, you can also agree on all the ground rules before the debate starts. I know you're not probably not a YouTuber, James, but quite often when I do these debates, we agree on ground rules beforehand. Like, for example, me and Ask Nelly, we agreed on some shit. Me and Face and LMS, we're not going to go there. We're not going to talk about this. And, I'm a man of honor. Like, I'll respect all the rules we agree on. Like, I'm not going to expose them about their personal life. I don't give a rat's ass what they do in their personal life. Like, I'll stick to the points. So I see your argument, but I just don't think that.
I think they should debate you. Like, watch your channel, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a little angry. I'm like, damn, what's the problem, right? Because the first video I seen was a redhead misogynist video, right? Because he was a little bit dissecting it, and I just noticed that people, like, for example, I just realized when I was typing in your comment, like, damn, I am a little too mad about this. There's no way I should be this angry about what you guys are saying. So Yeah, I think that they should debate Alex because, like, it makes sense. You're not really heavy on like exposing them or trying to call them cappers. You just disagree with a lot of their points, which I've been preaching. They made the video. They disagree. It wasn't really disrespectful like that. It wasn't trying to. Oh yeah, you guys are capping, man, or exposing like secretive emails or something like that. But yeah, it will make more sense for them to debate Alex. I don't know why they won't do it. It really makes sense for them to debate you, but.
Yeah,
I'll tell you why they won't do it, because he's afraid he will lose. He would rather either completely ignore me or fight me in the street. Those are the two things he will win. You know,
and what Coach Whitepill said, yeah, he's not just speaking for me. Him and I have had this discussion, and I think I said it on stream before. Honestly, so one of the reasons I keep making this Fresh and Fit videos is, first of all, they need to be exposed for them actually not knowing what they're talking about because they have a heavy influence. But at the same time, I keep saying this. I will keep making videos on Fridays. Well, I'm a man of my word. When I make a promise, I follow through with it. All right. I said like a month and a half ago, I'm going to keep making videos one time per week on Fridays about Myron Gaines and constantly exposing them and all these other types of things until he agrees to debate me. All right. Now, I am willing to extend an olive branch too and say, look, if you're willing to debate anybody that disagrees with you, more specifically, guys who know what they're talking about and can represent are actually good and successful women like Alex. So if he debates Alex instead of me, then I'll stop making those videos. I'm a man of my word. I will stop. That's the whole entire point.
It'll never happen in a million years.
I don't think it'll happen. Yeah.
It'll never
happen. Not gonna happen. They've even said explicitly they're not going to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'll call it like it is, James. You came in pretty heavy in the comments, but it sounds like you and I pretty much agree on everything.
I just realized that. Damn,
I don't think there's any disagreement. Like, so
I just realized there's no way I should be going hard for these people.
Yeah, you're going super hard in the comments, So like, but it sounds like you're really on our side, if anything, honestly. Yeah, and it's not even like there's.
We appreciate you, James. Honestly, it really takes.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say
any final comments or points you want to make, James, before we move on?
Yeah. I do think that they should like reach out for, like, for example, Albert Preach. Albert Preach new video. Myron, I think he's gonna get a little bit too mad about it and say, like, because people don't agree with him, like at least 90%, he's gonna get a little too mad. I don't think he's gonna be open to debate people that really have a very strong different opinion. You guys don't. The funny thing is, you guys don't really have that much of a different opinion. You just don't believe that everything he says is facts, which everyone on this planet, there's no way everything they say is 100% true. So everyone should take everyone's content with a grain of salt and lead their own life the way they need to.
Well, yes and no, James, because I'm not going to say that everything I say is 100% true because it's my perception of reality. But I would say that vast majority of what I say is true. I don't think you have to really take my content with a grain of salt. I think pretty much everything is what it is. I don't think you need to Alex is just saying, he's just talking about, getting better pictures on Tinder. That's crazy talk. Here he is again, talking about, lighting and angles, that crazy motherfucker. Yeah. So I don't think that really applies to some YouTube channels, right? I mean, I do think you should think for yourself.
It's all about people who are willing to talk and have a discourse with people who disagree with them. You know what I mean? That's because if you're willing to do that, you're willing to have your mind change, you're willing to hear it, because then you can actually trust those people, because then they actually stand for something. So people who don't stand for anything other than themselves, and if it's a grift, all of those people, I mean, do you think anyone who actually is only in it for themselves and only in it for the money, do you think they're ever going to platform anybody who disagrees with them? Of course not. Yeah. Scammers never do that. So that's one way to actually see, okay, is this somebody I can trust? Do they actually acknowledge their criticisms and actually, acknowledge their haters and their concerns, or do they run away from it and suppress it? When people start to do that, that's when red flags should go up for everybody who are actually interested in seeking the truth. Somebody who suppresses the truth and is afraid or not willing to hear people who disagree with them. When you hear that, that's not the type of person. I don't know about you, but if you're teaching people to be alpha males, which is required to be successful in the competitive dating market nowadays, right? Do you really want somebody leading you who's afraid to fight his own battles? That's the way I view it, man. But anyway, James, dude, shout out to you, man, because again,
props. And I'm a big fan. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, yeah. One more thing. I think this is what's so great about opening up debate and having discussions in person, because I think sometimes when people are just typing things out, you kind of forget sometimes. There's almost like this barrier between you and us through text, where we start to think you're a certain type of person, you start to think we're a certain type of person. But then when we actually hash it out and talk like men, then we realize that we're way more in agreement. So shout out to you, because sometimes some guys' egos get in the way and they can't admit when they were wrong, or maybe they were fanboying or whatever. And shout out to you, man, for you being like, man, I was fanboying too hard. That's why we do this, and that's why it's so great to have discussions. So props to you.
One more last point. For my last point is that in the end of it, I don't think we should completely diminish what Fresh and Fit is saying, because besides the late night shows or the after hours, they have other things like, money, stuff like that, or things like fitness and stuff like that. But I don't think we should completely try to cancel them or try to but we can't give constructive criticisms up to them if they want to take it, which do seem kind of ignorant, that they want to listen to no one else and just want to follow their own path. But that's my last.
No, I definitely don't think we should cancel them at all. I've been pretty public about this. I don't want to cancel anybody, no matter what they say. So no, I don't.
We talked about this early in the stream.
I think the problem is we look at things either good or bad. Like either these guys are gods or they're assholes and liars, right? Like people have a more nuanced view. Like there's some things they say they're good, some things they say they're really lame. Some things they do they're all right, some things they do they're hypocritical. Some things they tell the truth about, some things they lie about. You have to have a nuanced view. When it comes to this, you can't just be like black and white. Oh, these guys are great, they can do no wrong, or these guys suck.
People should take a lot of people's content that have a heavy mindset with a grain of salt. They shouldn't take it so damn heavily. I'm not gonna lie to you, now that I'm thinking about it, I was fanboying way too hard. I needed to calm down. But it was a great conversation, man.
Yeah, man. Likewise, it's good to have you, bro, and much appreciated.
You too.
Take care, James.
You too.
Okay, so let's just take a few more questions. I'll extend this offer. This was fun. If anyone else who's a Fresh and Fit fan wants to come on and debate us and prove to us why we're wrong, we'll extend you the same courtesy we did to James, even if you completely disagree with us. We'll do one more of this. I do want to, because this guy Jeff is just going fucking crazy in the comments about his fucking small dick. So let's answer this.
What?
He's on a tangent about how his dick is so small, how no girl's gonna love him. So I mean, he's like doing comments like, what percent of men will only stay loyal to a man with 7 inches or more? Obviously, I've thought it. I mean, he's just going on about his dick. But anyway, so he's saying, why does Alex not want to talk about dick size? Well, one, it's kind of gay, but aside from that, I don't want. But okay, let's get into it, Jeff. What I think about dick size, it's not something you can change. What's his name? Sterling has these exercises. I've never tried them. He says they will make his penis bigger, but you're kind of born with the penis you have. Now, if you have a micro penis, you are fucked. But if you don't have a micro penis, you're like whatever, below average. I don't really think it makes much of a difference at all, because a woman has already decided she's going to sleep with you by the time you take your penis out. Unless your penis is like disgustingly small, she's probably going to follow through, right? And if you're good in bed, like if you give her good sex, despite having a below average dick, she's going to come back for more. You can do that through oral, through fingers, just through fucking her well. So it's, I'm not going to say it's not good to have a big dick, but it's not something you can change. And I think you're heavily, heavily, heavily exaggerating how important it is. I also think if you're not trolling, you're trying to play victim, which is very not good.
Well, I'll weigh in here really quickly. So one thing as well is, there's theories that there's like all these different types of orgasms. One definitive type of orgasm is a clitoral orgasm, right? And where it actually is placed, it doesn't actually get stimulated through penetration, right? So that's why if you are good at oral sex, for example, that's one way that you can go about it. Another way too is like, if we're getting really technical, while you're actually having sex, if you're doing a certain position, again, I can't demonstrate obviously, but it's not necessarily the dick that's causing that stimulation. If you're like,
all right, here we have a typical fucking lame argument attempt. So he's taking what I'm saying and completely spinning it. So we have a bad faith argument. Yeah, bro, I'm gay. No one said you were gay. We said it's gay to talk about dicks with a bunch of men. We didn't say you were gay, so don't misinterpret what I said. But keep telling yourself you can't handle the truth like most men. Yeah, dude, me and my 2-inch penis can't handle the truth. Jeff, I will extend to you, this is completely unrelated, but if you want to come on, as long as you promise not to show your small penis, we will have you on and we will discuss this with you for like 5-10 minutes. So you keep that small little thing in your pants and we'll have a debate.
Oh, man. All right, one more thing. In case he doesn't come on, I will say, so I'm not so Sterling Cooper does it, and then we mentioned him earlier, Good Looking Loser. He does a lot of like dick lengthening stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I actually tried one of them for a few months, and it actually did kind of work. But you kind of have to like keep doing it. Yeah, I mean, it's not anything crazy. Like I think it adds maybe like, I don't know. I think it's more ego that it helps with. I think it adds like, it could add like a quarter of an inch, maybe even up to half an inch. There's actual medical literature showing that elongation devices actually help with that as well. But I think what naturally happens, guys, because originally my channel was like a no fap channel. Well, before that was fitness and then no fap. When you watch porn, you get a sort of skewed view on like what's normal in terms of dick size. First of all, look, you can experiment with this yourself. I know it sounds kind of weird, but like you can have certain camera angles, even in video, that makes your dick way bigger than it actually is, right? So when you watch porn, you see like, oh, these guys have like a 12-inch dick. Actually, it's like maybe like 8 inches, but the way that the way that they have the camera angle like makes it look like gargantuan, right? So as small as you maybe think you are, you're probably not as small as you think you are. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So there are some things you can do, those stretching exercises. I've never actually gone fully hardcore with it because you can even do things like penis pumps, which are like actually are very effective from what I know. You can do other forms. I never got super intense with it, but there actually is medical literature that pretty definitively shows that it can be effective. So here's another way to look at it too. Like like those, I think they're like Thai, that they have like the neck brace thing and then their necks get super long. If you can do that with your bones, you can do that with tissue that's not bone related. It's just the issue is, okay, got to be careful because sometimes you can get injured doing these things as well. Just make sure that it's, we all have insecurities.
Doc, I heard myself. What happened, young man? Oh, I was trying to make my dick bigger.
yeah.
Or like you see the dude at the gym and he's like sweating, but he's not doing anything. Like, hey man, what are you working on? Oh, you don't even want to know. Like sitting there, like fucking.
Yeah, he's fucking doing bench presses with his fucking dick.
Dude.
Yeah, but just make sure that you're not like going fucking crazy over it, man. It's always okay. It's like if you're skinny, you have an insecurity about being skinny, you want to work out and get bigger. You can do the same thing with your dick, but don't let it control your life. And another thing too is like a lot of it's body fat percentage. Like a lot of guys have like a kind of a FUPA without even realizing it. I noticed for myself when I did my physique competition, when I got super lean, basically, and I was already pretty lean to begin with, right? I was already at like, I don't know, 17, 18% body fat, but then I got down to like 7%. I kid you not, just from like the excess fat that was gone, I probably added like a quarter of an inch to like half an inch to my dick doing that. So if you get super lean and then like the hidden parts of your dick reveal themselves and you're also doing some dick exercises, it's possible to add like a full inch if that's something that you really want to do.
Okay, someone said
I didn't think that we'd be talking about this stuff.
I didn't either. The question is, I'm trying to find the answer to is what percentage of women will only stay loyal to a dude under 6? Dude, how the fuck am I supposed to know that? Do you think I go around asking 100 girls, hey, let me ask you a question? Hypothetically speaking, like I don't know. I haven't seen any studies on this, so I can't give you a percentage. And I also don't really think it matters. Like either okay, I'm assuming you have a small dick based on like what you're saying. I don't think a guy with a big dick would be like. That's curious. Okay, so let's assume Jeff has a 5-inch cock, right? This is so weird. Let's assume Jeff has a 5-inch cock. Does it really matter what percentage, if it's 40 or 60%? It doesn't really matter. You can't really change it much. You can do all these exercises I've been talking about. At the end of the day, you can just have to focus on the things you can control, which is like your fitness, your sexual market value, how good you are in bed. I would argue to say that if a girl has to choose between a 5-inch cock and with a guy who's really good in bed and a 7-inch cock with a guy has no skills in bed, most women would choose the 5-inch guy. So again, I have no idea how big your penis is. I don't even really want to know. But yeah, so I just think you're asking the wrong questions, to be honest. All right. So we had someone say, I think it was Sean, that he wants to come on. Playing with fire, you're going to drop the link. All right, Sean. So yeah, we will drop you the link right now. Hang on a second. There you go. Wow, let's do like one more.
Until Sean comes on to wrap a bow on the whole dick size thing, I think I'd probably look at it as like, okay, in the extremes, it could definitely really negatively affect you. So for example, let's take height, right? So if you're in the normal range of height, you shouldn't have any kind of excuses for height. But if you're like a freaking Superman, like maybe 5'1", 5'2", then yeah, maybe that will like really, really affect everything. And then also at the same time, okay, let's just say that dick size matters a ton. If you're over 6 feet tall, like that's going to give you a significant advantage in the dating market. It'll make things easier for you. Same thing if you have like a 9-inch dick, then maybe it'll make things easier for you as well. I mean, who knows? Like regardless, as long as you're kind of in that normal range, and just look it up, man. I mean, look at the average dick size. I think it's like 5 point something, which isn't that big. So like, as long as you're kind of close to that, then it's fine. Remember, porn isn't.
Let's put all this dick talk to rest. I think we beat this horse to death. I don't want this to become.
Dude, this guy. I remember because this guy came on my channel too and asked the same things. Like I think he literally just copied and pasted it. So I want to make sure we put this to bed so that he, pun intended, we put this to bed so that he doesn't talk about it. I think it's going to take a lot more to put it to rest. All right, let's get Sean on. Sean, what up, Sean? What's going on?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. What's up?
Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks for having me on.
Anytime.
I wanted to come on because I really am kind of perplexed and I don't understand the hate, or if not so much the hate, the disagreement with Fresh and Fit, especially to the point where Kevin yourself, you have to go to the lengths to make videos about disagreeing with them because First of all, Fresh and Fit, they teach men to, hey, be in shape. No excuse for being fat. We can all agree with that. You got to hit the gym as men, all right? Because there's no excuse for us men to be fat, all right? They teach you finances. Hey, get your finances in order. Have good credit. Make sure you use credit wisely, okay? All right? And they teach us about the nature of women, and sometimes to the point of the vindictive nature of women, to where, let's be honest, most of us men, we weren't taught that as men, especially when we were young. When we were young, we were taught, oh, women are princes. You teach them, you treat them like princes. You give them flowers and all that stuff. And ultimately, where does that lead? That leads to us men being taken advantage of, to where we have no one to go to. We have no one to console us. So I really don't understand why Fresh and Fit gets so much hate when they do all of this, to the point where they're teaching us how to be better men.
Okay, here's the issue with it. I want you to do this, Sean. Go into their videos and go to their most popular videos and tell me what the titles of those videos are. You don't actually literally have to do it. You can do it on your own time. But the issue is, it's fine and all that you could say that, but the issue is people don't watch their channel for that. They watch it for the whole, so-and-so got kicked out, all this other bullshit, right? You can make the same exact argument with Jerry Springer, for example, where Jerry Springer every once in a while will have some kind of heartfelt moment. But the reason that people watch Jerry Springer is for, these couples to get into fights. Or if you watch Maury, the reason people watch it is because they're just like, oh, you're not the father. Ah! And then there's like kind of some heartfelt, like kind of like family moment maybe. But is Maury exactly teaching family values? No. So let's not act like Fresh and Fit gains popularity or people watch them for that content. That just happens to be one of the things that they focus on.
Okay. And I understand what you're saying, and I will put that under the umbrella of the entertainment angle, because let's be honest, it's somewhat entertainment. But now my rebuttal to you, Kevin, is why did those women get kicked off? They got kicked off because they disrespected the platform. They thought that they could just come up there, not respect the structure and the flow of the platform to which Fresh and Fit run it. And see, I think you're missing that, because that also goes into the vindictive nature of women, thinking that they can just do whatever they want, disrespect men, disrespect their house, disrespect their platform, and not be held accountable. And I think you're missing that.
So let me step in real quick. I just want to get this point across. All right. So first of all, I don't have a problem with them kicking out girls, but let's not pretend like every single one of the girls that got kicked off their show was all the same and totally deserved it, right? I mean, okay, Myron asked a girl to get out, right? Okay, that's his right as a podcast host. Now, is it necessary for him to get up and say, yo, I'm going to follow you to make sure you don't steal my shit? Like, that's just adding salt to the wound. So let's not pretend like Myron is being the most respectful host ever, and these chicks are these bad girls. Now they have some shady girls on the channel. That's their right. As a host, you should actually screen who you have on your channel. That's a whole different thing. They're not just innocently, like, Myron knows that this is what gets them views, that have doing these kickouts. So he wants those disrespectful, raunchy girls that he can kick out. He doesn't want the respectful chicks who are going to be all like, cute and submissive. That's not what's going to get views. So that's the first thing. Let me pose you a question, Sean. So let's say you had a popular doctor in your area. Let's say he was very popular, a lot of people are going to him. And let's say he was doing some good stuff. Let's say, for example, he was giving you vitamin D, vitamin C, which is important, right? So he was doing some good stuff. But let's say also at the same time, he was selling you this supplement program for $2,000 that was not getting you any results. And people who are broke were spending their money on it. And some of them were actually getting sicker from taking those supplements than if they just didn't do anything. Would you think it was valid for someone to call that out and say, hey, listen, this doctor, he should keep doing the good things, but he's got to, stop, the hypocrisy of selling these bullshit supplements that are wasting people money and not getting them sick? Would you say that's an invalid criticism?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. If, the supplement that the doctor is selling me is getting people sick, then yes, I think it would be necessary to call it, to call out the doctor. However, I will also say that if you're going to call out that doctor, make sure that you have your facts correct, and you're not doing it out of spite, or you're not doing it just to stir the pot, shall we say. And I also want to say, harping back to what you were saying about, the girls kicking out, that, those that gets the most views. Yes. But now let's go back to those videos. How many of those girls assaulted Myron?
Like
that's
two?
That's another thing that we want to see.
Like one.
Like one or two?
No.
Out of like
at least
fucking
3.
50.
Okay, 2 or 3.
3 out of 50. Congratulations.
Let's agree.
But that's not the point. The point is, and that
is the point. You brought it up.
Yes, and I'm gonna expound on that point, because that absolutely should not happen. If that's his platform, that's his podcast, he tells them to get out, they got no right to say, no, I don't want to get out. I don't like the way you talk to me. No, it's my house. Get the fuck out. And also, you have no right to assault me in my own house. I don't care if you step on my foot. I don't care if you slap me.
That's very true.
I totally agree. So, Sean, are you willing to say this then? So if we can come to an agreement that those 3 where the women assaulted them, the women were in the bad, are you willing to also acknowledge that it's possible that of the other, 47 or so, if we're saying that there's 50 total, that it's possible that those were unjustified kickouts that were just done in the form of entertainment?
No, because when they got kicked out, they didn't, like I said, they didn't respect the structure and the flow of the platform. You don't overtalk. It's Myra's podcast. He runs it like he wants. Okay. If he tells you, be quiet, let me talk, and then I'm gonna let you talk, then they have to respect that. If they don't respect that, then they're messing up the show. They're messing up the flow.
And how many times does Myron disrespect his guests by overtalking them? See, the issue is this. Look, he can do, it's his podcast. He can do whatever he wants. All right, he can absolutely do whatever he wants. But let's not act like
he's like the victim here. Like Myron's the victim. And these girls are the big bad girls. Look, has he had ratchet girls on the podcast? They need to be put in their place. Yeah, absolutely. No one is denying that. But not every single one of the chicks that's been on their channel has been ratchet and has been disrespectful. Quite often, like, the kickouts are literally over nothing. And again, I know why Myron is doing it, because he knows that is what's going to get him views. Like, don't think he's doing it just because he's trying to, stand up for himself. He's doing it because he knows that's what's going to get him views, at the end of the day.
But also,
yeah, I of course, yeah, if you're on his channel, you should be respectful. I mean, does he always extend courtesy and respect to his guests? Not really. I would say I'm way more respectful to the people I have on than he is. And I would talk about respect in every episode. So I mean, but anyway, we're kind of going in circles here. I mean, it doesn't matter if how many people he kicks out legitimately, how many he does not kick out legitimately. I mean, I think your issue, Sean, is with the fact that we're criticizing his content. And can you agree with the fact that there's some things that they say they're wrong, they're objectively wrong, and there's some things that they do that are hypocritical?
Honestly, I would say I would agree with. I'll put a percentage on. I agree with 85% of the things that Fresh and Fit say on their podcast, and 15% I don't agree. So to put it in context, to put it in numbers, that's about where I'm at.
Okay, so what's the 15% you disagree with?
Well, and let's go back to Myron. He's, I'm sure you guys will probably agree with me on this. He seems to be, somewhat a little hot tempered. He seems like he kind of loses his cool a little quickly. Me myself,
like when he does the
bad.
kickouts, like when he does the kickouts.
Not so much the kickouts when he's making his points. If you disagree with him, he seems like he gets amped up. He gets really charged up to where it's real easy for him to blow a gasket. And
yeah, I've experienced that
and
in real life. I've experienced that in 3D. He is the most hot-tempered person ever. I mean, he like fucking lost it on me when I was walking down the street and filming into it. So
and I say that because I'm more of a mild-mannered. It's not so easy for me to blow a gasket, and so that's where I would say I disagree with him. In that
okay, so let me ask you a series of. Sorry, go ahead, Sean. I don't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I just want to say that's why I think he needs to be kind of a little bit more cooler, a little bit not so hot tempered. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, he is who he is, at the end of the day. But let me ask you a series of questions. So, if, for example, on my podcast, on my channel, I talked about, hey guys, listen, don't simp for girls. Whatever you do, don't sign up for their OnlyFans, don't pay for porn. And that's what I did for a year. And then, just coincidentally, I said, hey guys, by the way, I have my own Patreon where we have porn, and I have porn stars on, and I want you guys to sign up for my Patreon and watch all this porn I do. Would you call me a hypocrite if I did that?
Okay, wait. Okay, say that kind of one more time. I think I understand. Okay. I just want to make sure. Say it again.
Yeah. So let's say I spent a year on my channel talking about how men should not simp for girls, how men should not pay for OnlyFans, how men should not give girls money randomly. And then, like 1 year later, when my channel got big, I decided to make my own Patreon, my own version of OnlyFans, where I have porn. And I told guys, hey, if you guys want to see these chicks get naked, then sign up for a Patreon. Would you call me a hypocrite?
No, I wouldn't.
You would not.
No, and I'll tell you why. May I tell you why?
Yeah,
because, please.
Okay, because with paying for OnlyFans, you are not getting anything out of it. And what I mean by that is that girl that you're paying to see do whatever on OnlyFans, she doesn't give a fuck. She doesn't care about you. She doesn't give you any information besides, hey, here's my tits, here's my ass, I'm naked, take a look at it. Whereas your channel, you have your Patreon, you have naked girls on it. I support your channel. I get good content from you. You give me workout information. You give me fitness information. You give me finance information. You teach me how to be a better man. So I'm supporting you because you give me content that I agree with, and I want to show my support for you.
That's my selling point. So I don't set up my Patreon and say, hey guys, if you want to show your support stuff to my Patreon, I say, hey guys, if you want to see naked girls, then come on my Patreon. And that's the selling point. And that's the reason hundreds and thousands of guys are going to sign up for my Patreon. And then I go on an interview with a different host and I say, in a verbatim, and I say, yeah, well, these guys are going to simp for someone. They might as well simp for me. You would not call me a hypocrite if I did that?
All right. Well, since you're kind of moving the goalposts here.
But see, I'm not, because that all actually happened. And there's actually like proof of this. So this is not even up for debate. Like there's actually videos of this happening.
Okay, but again, like I said, I support your channel. By supporting your channel, I support your Patreon. You see what I'm saying? Because, like I said, you give me good content. I get something out of supporting you. Whereas the OnlyFans girl, the only thing I get out of it is seeing her naked with her ass and her tits.
Hold on. This is important, all right? So you're saying their Patreon has value because of all these other things that isn't the ass and the titties and stuff, right?
It's tied directly to their channel. Right.
Okay, no. So that's perfectly fine. So you wanting to support them on Patreon, don't you want them to promote the good things and then not the other bad things? So let's take a drastic example because it's important, all right? So let's say that they do all of those things with all the productive stuff, but then all of a sudden they promote their Patreon by doing something extremely heinous that we can all agree with, such as being like, okay, and then so what we're doing now on Patreon is we are going to line up a bunch of Chinese guys and make fun of their dicks, right? So if you acknowledge that that's wrong, and if they promote it, then that disparages the entire message of their Patreon, right? Do you agree that would, if they did something like that, wouldn't you agree that automatically debunks the rest of their Patreon and all the other stuff? Could you agree on that point?
Well, in that regard, yeah, making fun of another man's penis size, that's something I'd be like,
Okay.
whoa, wait a minute.
Okay.
Do I want to
Okay. So
support
this is important then. So if you can acknowledge this, then the only thing that we disagree with is the severity with which their OnlyFans actually negatively affects the entire sentiment of their Patreon, right? So you acknowledge that there's certain things that if they promote it in a certain way, it would make the rest of their content completely, like who cares, right? So I want to make sure that we make that distinction, because then we can bring the argument to, okay, are they hypocritical, or does them promoting OnlyFans completely ruin and invalidate the other stuff that they supposedly talk about on their Patreon? You just agreed to that point there, right? I just want to make that clear. So now we can focus on the actual point of, are they hypocrites for promoting their OnlyFans, and does that completely negate and take away from the fundamental ethos of their show, which is to simp and not, or which is to pimp and not simp. That even used to be their old catchphrase, is turning simps into pimps, right? Does this fundamentally go against their ethos of transforming simps to pimps, them having basically their own OnlyFans on Patreon? Yes or no? Does that contradict their central message of their show from the beginning, transforming simps to pimps? Does it contradict it? Yes or no?
No, it doesn't. But let me just say, I understand what you're saying. And yes, if there was content that was put on their Patreon, some of it could negate their message that they use on their other channels.
However, but it's not could, it's there.
It's there. It's literally like, if you go from, if you say, that's not enough for debate. If you say, okay, I'm transforming you from going from a simp to a pimp, and one of the ways that makes you a simp, Myron has a video himself. He says the 3 reasons why you're a simp. The first one he talks about is, if you subscribe to OnlyFans, you're automatically a simp. Then they start promoting OnlyFans content on their Patreon. So what would that make somebody who subscribes to their Patreon to only see naked titties and to see porn stars? What would that make them, Sean? According to Myron's logic.
But I think we have to establish some parameters.
Please answer the question. What would that make them?
That wouldn't make them hypocritical. No.
Would it make them a simp? I'm not asking to make it hypocritical.
No, it would not make them a simp. And I'll
Guys,
tell you.
This is what an ideologue looks like.
No, I'll tell you why. Allow me to finish, because, like I was about to say, we have to establish some parameters around what a simp is. Basically, a simp is someone who, in terms of a guy and a girl, a guy gives the girl anything she wants: money, cars, pays for an apartment, whatever, and gets nothing out of it. That to me is a simp. Now, let's put this in the context of the debate. You're saying that by promoting OnlyFans on their Patreon, guys paying for it makes them a simp. It does not make them a simp, because they are supporting their channel. They're getting something out of buying the OnlyFans on their Patreon, versus if they bought Heather, the redheaded, big-breasted bimbo's OnlyFans, they're not getting anything out of that. But they're getting something out of paying for the OnlyFans on their Patreon, because they're supporters.
So they're not 100%. So okay, so your argument is they're not full simps. They're like 80% simps, right? Like they're not, because there's some value they're getting, even though the main reason they're signing up is to see the porn, to see the titties. But because there's some, whatever, good finance advice on the back end, thus they're not complete simps. They're like 80% simps. Okay, I will even grant you that argument. Let me kind of switch gears a little bit. My channel is primarily focused around online dating, right? That's the big focus of my channel. Let's say you met me and you found out that I've never tried Tinder, Bumble, or Hinge. What would you think about me?
If I met you and you never tried it?
Let's say you don't need to meet me. Let's say you found out that I have never tried online dating, even though my channel primarily talks about online dating.
I wouldn't think anything about it, because
you wouldn't think I'm a hypocrite, I'm a bullshitter?
No, because that's just like a Hall of Fame basketball coach never playing basketball, never being picked up on the team, or never, even playing high school basketball or anything. You can still be a good coach and you can still know the game.
But that coach has probably played a good amount of basketball in his life. There's no coach ever who hasn't picked up a basketball. So that doesn't really work. I'm talking about, if I talk about constantly about online dating, how good it is. I have a product about Tinder and how you can get laid on Tinder, and guys are paying me money for that. Yet I've personally never even tried it. You don't think that would be problematic at all?
No, because you've done the research, you've done your homework, you obviously know the statistics, you obviously know how it works.
How do you know that I actually know how it works if I personally never tried it? Maybe I'm just pulling shit out of my ass. How do you know that?
Well, okay, in that case, then I guess I would be, I guess that would be shame on me for giving you the benefit of the doubt. But my point is, just because you've never done online dating, you can still know about it, know the intricacies, and knows how it works, and know how to benefit from using it.
Probably not. If I've never tried something, I probably don't really know much about it. And I'm just going off secondhand experience. And probably 99.9% of the time, the information I'm giving you is going to be bullshit. I think most people, I mean, you may be the most trusting person on this planet, Sean, but I think vast majority of people, if they found out that I personally never tried online dating, they would dump my channel in a fucking heartbeat. They'd be like, dude, this guy's the biggest fucking poser bullshitter ever. Like, fuck this guy. So you may be very unique, Sean, but yeah, most people will be like, what the fuck?
You're right. Probably would be. I mean, I would agree with that. But
Sean, is there anything I could do to make you think I'm a hypocrite? Let me ask this question: like, what would it take for you to think that someone is a hypocrite? There's got to be something on this plan that would make you think that someone's a hypocrite. Okay, let's say, for example, I'm talking about pussy and fucking girls, and you find out I'm gay. Would that make you think I'm a hypocrite?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. We're finally establishing some common.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So according to this logic, because I'm talking about how great something is, and yet I'm doing something else, thus I'm a hypocrite. Now, what about if I specifically tell you that I have a product about how to be a pimp on Instagram, how you should never, whatever, like simp for girls on Instagram, how you should never claim to, use, whatever, just like do the typical like game that guys are doing on Instagram. You have your own approach, how to stand out. And then you find out that I'm personally leveraging my net worth and my podcast to try to pull chicks off Instagram. And then you find out that also, even though I claim to have a really good game on Instagram, my text game is objectively atrocious on Instagram. Would you think that is problematic?
Say that again. No. Say it one more time. You were talking fast. My apologies. I should have kind of.
Okay, you're good. All right, so let's say I have an Instagram course, right, where I talk about, hey, I have the strategy that's going to help you get lead on Instagram. Most of the guys on Instagram are, leveraging their net worth. They're saying, hey, I'm going to fly you out. I'm going to, get you a Rolls Royce. I have a strategy, right, that, that circumvents all that. I know how to really game girls on Instagram through game and help them come over, right? Okay. And I say that. And then you find out that I'm actually offering to fly girls out and leveraging my podcast in order to get them laid. Would you be like, this guy's a total fucking hypocrite at that point?
Now, in that regard, yes, I would.
So that is exactly what Myron got caught doing.
Yep.
That is exactly verbatim 100%. What he got caught doing. Verbatim. So by that,
and this is verified.
This is 100% verified. 100% verified. You can see the screenshots with the girl.
Myron even admitted that he did it. That was the whole entire reason I started going after Myron is based off of that one thing. So you're coming after my channel, basically saying, "Oh, well, I'm just a hater, whatnot," and you don't even realize why I started this whole thing in the first place.
But I get what you guys are saying, but I see nothing wrong with if you've built yourself up, you've built a successful podcast by the numbers. I see nothing wrong with using that in your personal life. There's nothing wrong with that.
So I don't either, Sean. So I don't either. I came out and said that. I have no problem with that at all. What I do have a problem is if I go on and I spend a year talking about how you should never offer to fly girls out, you should never leverage, your resource to get laid. You should only do it through game. And then I use the podcast. That becomes problematic. It's not the action; it's the hypocrisy behind the action. That's the thing.
But let's be realistic here. How many people out there have a successful podcast like Fresh and Fit?
Well, very few. Thus, that makes it even worse because then the stuff they're doing won't even apply to 99.9% of their clients. So 99.9%.
And that's why he tells you to build yourself up as a man. That's why he tells you to get your money up.
But he's not actually doing it himself.
No, wait, hold on. One thing really quick. Myron doesn't say that. Myron says to get your money up and all that so you don't have to tolerate the BS that comes with dealing with women. Yes. Not specifically to talk about women. I don't think he actually believes in that, but you're actually mischaracterizing the guy you're trying to defend right now. No, I'm really curious, Sean. Again, I think we're just, look, here's the thing. When people are ideologically driven, they don't necessarily understand the extent to which they are. I really implore you to try to re-listen to this part where you're talking at us here about us here and try to look at it from a clear head. I'm not trying to just be a dick about it, but there's so much cognitive dissonance that's going on because you're clearly a fan of Fresh and Fit, which is okay, right? So you're gonna look at everything. So Alex and I are trying to look at this as objectively as possible, but with you kind of have these glasses on of like, okay, well, how do I come to the defense of Fresh and Fit? You've contradicted yourself like 4 different times here. Okay.
So sorry, go ahead, Kevin. I don't mean to.
No. Okay, I just implore you, Sean, to just rewatch this part. And I think honestly, man, at this point, the conversation is not that much more productive. I feel like we're not, as contrary to popular belief, we don't like dunking on people. Okay, so I don't think you're the best to represent their arguments.
I'm never going to shit on someone who has the balls to come on. And
I appreciate you coming on, man.
We'll have you on next. Just hang on. But let me make one final point. So Sean, again, my thing is I don't know how familiar with my channel. I'm big on online dating, right? Let's say that I talk about how I have the perfect Tinder bio and the Tinder profile. I say that, hey guys, like you should buy my product because I have figured out the best Tinder profile that girls are very attracted to, right? I do that over and over again. And a lot of people take me at my word because they're fans of mine. They buy my product. And let's say, hypothetically speaking, maybe a few months after that, I have my profile reviewed by 6 girls and they all say that it fucking sucks balls and they would never swipe right on me. Would you see that as problematic?
No, because it's not. It's only 6 girls. I mean, what 6 girls say no, but 20 say yes.
Okay, let's
the percentage to me.
Sure, but let's say no girl says yes. Let's say every girl is like, yeah, this shit sucks.
But again, you're moving the goalposts here, man. You keep doing this. You're moving the goalposts.
It's called projection, Sean. That's
because I don't have the luxury of grilling. I mean, I'd be happy to maybe even do this experiment. Like this would be like some extreme shit. Go up to a bunch of girls in Miami and ask them. But honestly, like I consider myself pretty well versed in Instagram. And the fact that 6 girls on their show, because girls on your show are going to give you the benefit of the doubt. So when you have a guest on, they're going to be more agreeable with you. That's just psychology 101. If 6 girls were like, yeah, no, I wouldn't accept a DM from you, then I don't think we really need to go out and like, get 6 more girls. I think we could be like, okay, this profile sucks. I mean, Sean, do you objectively think that Fresh has a good Instagram profile? Yes or no?
Yes, I've been on this Instagram. It's. I mean, I'm a guy. I mean, I'm not really big.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so you're a straight guy. You probably can't really tell well. But if a bunch of girls are saying that it sucks, that's a little problematic. And then if my co-host is like, oh, don't rate my profile, I'm too afraid. Don't look at it. Why? Like, if you have a good profile, if you know Instagram game, then why are you scared to have a bunch of girls take a look at your profile?
Fresh and Fit, they also teach you as a man to have an abundance mindset. Don't let it get to you. I mean, those girls probably won't worth it anyway. They teach you as a man, don't let a woman who clearly is a 4 or a 5, and for whatever reason she thinks she's an 8 to where she can reject your Instagram profile like she's an 8 or a 9. They teach you as a man to see through that bullshit.
Trust me, if the 4 is rejecting his profile, then the 8 is absolutely going to reject the profile. And never in the history has it ever happened that a 4 is like, yeah, I don't like this, and 8 is like, oh yeah, daddy. That never happens. Trust me, the 8 will be way more ruthless. And second point, they were the ones who chose to have on those 4s. I don't invite their guests for them. Look, they can have on whatever girls they want. I'm not going to shit on them for having unattractive girls on because I'm sure it's hard to get guests continuously. So I don't see that as problematic. But like, I think we can agree that was a bad look for them when they're selling an Instagram course and literally every single girl is saying, yeah, this is not an Instagram that I find attractive. And then Myron's like, no, don't look at my Instagram. Like, do you not see that as problematic at all? Like you can dodge, you can play the blame game and say, oh, these chicks are bitches and these chicks are all that. They don't really have a valid opinion, but you're the one that asked them to take a look at it. So if I go to Kevin and I say, hey, Kevin, I'm having this problem. Can you give me my advice? I can't then say, you're so wrong. Why are you fucking coming at me like that? He's just a fag. I asked you for advice.
Boom. I think this is Sean, thanks for coming on. Again, Alex, this is your channel, so you can do whatever you want. But I think if we want to have somebody else come on, just because I see in the chat other people want to come on. And
okay.
Sean,
okay.
again, respect for coming on.
Sean a chance to give any closing
thoughts. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, fellas. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, Sean. No, truly, I give you props for coming on. And absolutely. I don't think we disagree on as much as you think we do. I think that once you watch this on repeat a few times, you'll be like, oh shit. Yeah. Like I actually agree with these guys kind of.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of your channel, so I'll be watching you. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Sean.
Right on.
Take care.
Have a good one, man.
All right. I can do one more of these. Let me just take a fucking piss. Who's the next one? So who's guys? Let me know in the comments who you want to see me have on next. Let me take a quick piss. This is actually becoming pretty interesting, and then we'll do one more.
This is fun, isn't it? That's why
Yeah,
I
it's
always
pretty
open
fun.
up my stream. I love talking to guys, whether they agree or disagree. Yeah, guys. I mean, shout out to Sean again. I always respect anybody who has the balls to debate topics, but I think. And Sean, with all due respect, I think, you seem like a pretty smart guy, but that's why it made it that much clearer, the cognitive dissonance that you had because you were ideologically driven. If you guys want to see what ideology looks like and being ideologically driven, that's what that looked like. Okay. And look, there's a reason that we don't, I'm not a big fan of dunking on, just regular folks that want to come on because people can change their minds at the end of the day. And, I was serious about that, Sean. If you're still watching, I really implore you to just rewatch that part and try to view it from the standpoint of like you don't actually know who Fresh and Fit is, and then I think you'll come to an understanding that again, sentimentally, you and I and Alex actually all kind of agree on the same stuff. It's just that because you feel we're attacking Fresh and Fit, maybe you were thinking things a bit differently than you normally would. All right, so.
Okay, someone said, I am Chad. All right, and that's my girl. So
I love it.
So I can go to bed in peace. All right,
we need to bring in I am Chad, and then we have to summon our own Giga Chad. It'll be Chad versus Giga Chad. It'll be like the ultimate showdown.
Okay, here's the link for I am Chad. Antonio, I see your comment, but I am Chad has been waiting. So to be fair. Even though you gave me the super chat, I do have to respect the fact that he was first. If we have time after that, then we can maybe do it. But we can do another one of these. I mean, we can. It's pretty fun, actually. I think, to be fair, we are way more respectful to Fresh and Fit fans than they would ever be to our fans. Like, they would not even be close.
Dude, I think we're more respectful to them than Fresh and Fit would be to their own fans.
Yeah, I think so.
Honestly, I mean, when they do their breakdowns of their IGs and whatnot, like half the time it's Fresh or Myron and Fresh just going in on them, and it's kind of, I don't know. Some of it's low-key disrespectful. Like if you just make fun of somebody's like fucking nose or something when you see their Instagram, it's like, well, that's shit that somebody can't change, I'm not saying that they did that. I don't know if they did, but.
Okay, I am Chad. We got you, man. So we posted a link. So yeah, get on the live and let's do this.
Yeah.
You're highly requested. So. Yeah, we've been at this for 2 hours. This is the longest fucking live stream I've ever done.
It's cool.
Okay,
I think after like one more debate, I'm gonna have to.
Yeah. This is gonna have to be the last one.
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
let's make it a good one. Come on, Chad.
Chad, how's it going?
G'day, how's it going?
Good.
Chad is all the way down here in Australia.
Cool.
Right on. Shout out to Australia.
So
are you both in America? Is that right?
Oh no, I'm in Miami and Kevin is in Southeast Asia.
Nice.
I'm from America though. I'm America/Japan. I'm half Japanese. I spent a chunk of my childhood in Japan and the other chunk in the U.S. Most of it in the U.S.
But yeah, let's jump right into this. So Chad, so we'll let you kick things off. So what do you disagree with what we're saying?
I have a few disagreements, but like I don't know. Like for example, would you guys construe Myron as a fake alpha?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what would be like the justification behind that?
So, well, me and Kevin can just go, separately, but my justification is multiple. One is the fact that he gets so easily triggered and so reactive by the tiniest things. A real alpha is secure with himself. He doesn't get super triggered. So, for example, if someone in the comments says, Alex, you fucking suck, right? I consider myself an alpha. Like, I'm not going to go out and say I'm the biggest alpha ever, but I consider myself an alpha guy. I'm not going to get triggered by that. I'm not going to get reactive. I'm going to laugh it off. When I'm on a date with a girl and she makes a joke that's, maybe a little, accusatory or something like that, again, I'm not going to take it personally, right? Myron takes everything extremely personally, gets extremely reactive, and is actually extremely emotional himself. Even though he calls the girls emotional, he's actually more emotional than 70% of the girls on the channel. Thus, I think he's a fake alpha. The second reason I will say why he's a fake alpha is I don't think a true alpha guy leverages his resources to get laid. I think a real alpha guy relies on his game, his personality to get laid. And there's been multiple examples of Myron leveraging his podcast, leveraging this and that to get laid, which I also see as problematic. But the first one is probably a bigger point. So those are my
reasons. I want to add on to that because I totally agree with what you just said. To add on to your second point, so they always cite the rational male as their Bible or whatnot, right? Within the rational male itself, they make a distinction between alpha fucks and beta bucks. Now, based on what Alex just said, that second one there, and what Myron does, which would you classify Myron more as, alpha fucks or beta bucks?
Okay. So
because of that, he puts on a front of being a fake alpha, because the way that I see his show is, because this is typically what happens with guys who don't understand the whole alpha versus beta thing, dominance versus submissiveness, all this other stuff. They kind of think I liken it to this, right? You've heard of the whole thing of wolves and sheep's clothing. So I imagine that Myron is a sheep in wolf's clothing, because he characterizes in his mind what he thinks an alpha male is, but he's actually a sheep deep down inside. He's a beta male. So he tries to exude all the qualities that he thinks an alpha male would be like, as in I'm going to kick girls out if they disrespect me even once, right? What does that actually show? If you kick girls out immediately, and this is why shit tests that women do toward men are so important. It's actually a test of your strength and your actual belief in yourself, right?
See if you're
so
true
if you're
alpha
actually
or not. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's basically what a shit test is. And so it's her way of saying, oh, is this guy a fake alpha or is he a real alpha, right? So when you shit test and you don't pass it, that means your insecurities are coming out, right? And what does Myron do on his show? He fails the shit test every single time, because as soon as a girl just shit tests him a little bit, he just freaking explodes and kicks them out. That's fake alpha male behavior.
Okay. I think that's sort of related to Alex's first justification. But I'm off the cam right now because it's kind of difficult to hold the phone up, but I'm still here just to let you know.
Fine.
No worries.
Okay. All right. So I'll try and address that in reverse order, but starting with number 3. So the binary between alpha fucks versus beta bucks, right? So I think the difference is that in the case of Myron, or in the case of this concept here, is that the beta doesn't have any other choice but to supplicate for his lack of value with an exchange of some alternative, ulterior form of value, right? So that's going to be, in this case, is going to be money. But we all know that Myron doesn't suffer from that issue. He can execute different forms of value like game, money, status, and he can sort of execute and employ each of these in their own respective way. So he's not reduced to just being in this betaized position, if you want to take that as a legitimate concept.
Okay, so here's my issue with that argument. You just assume that Myron had game, which he doesn't. So yeah, if he did actually have game, then maybe that would have some legitimacy to it. But he's proven time and time again that he in fact doesn't. So therefore, he has to leverage.
You would have to. I would say you would have to ask Alex on that, because none of us, neither you or I, have met him in person before the podcast and out gaming. I think Alex has. Am I correct? Or
you are correct. So if I had to be honest, no bullshit, I would rate him as an intermediate. He has some really bad habits.
Okay.
He has some really bad habits, failing every shit test, getting triggered way too easily. He has some really bad beliefs. He's an intermediate. He does have that kind of blunt confidence, but as soon as he gets non-compliance or resistance, he kind of folds. Now, to be fair, I've only gone out with him once or twice, but no, I don't see him as having a high level of game. And I think that really, you can really see that in the Anna Quinn screenshots. That was just really bad text game. That was some of the worst text gaming. Look, game 101. If you've been in the game for 2 weeks, you know that you can't logic your way into attraction. I can't show up on a day and be like, hey, listen, you should fuck me for these 4 reasons, right? Attraction is emotional. But what he was doing in those screenshots is he was trying to logic himself into pussy. which like anyone who knows game knows. So am I going to go out and say Myron has no game? No, I won't say that, but he doesn't have, really good game or anything like that. So yeah. And I would make the second argument.
Can I address that, or is that okay? Or?
Let me just make a second point, and then for sure it's all you. But the second point I want to make is, if he really did have that good game, then why would he take the beta bucks option? Why not just rely on game alone to get laid?
Well, actually, I felt that you kind of answered your own question there, because like to ask you both objectively, you might give slightly different nuanced answers to this, but both Kevin and Alex, like on average let's say per month or per 2 months, how often would you say that an intermediate gets laid in like a period of a month or 2 months?
It depends on how often he goes out. It depends on how much effort he puts in. Yeah.
Right. It depends on a lot of background variables. I agree. But to give overall, we're going to have to summarize, right? We don't have all day to go into every metric, but let's just say he's going out, 3 times a week.
Let me ask the question a little differently, because I think we're kind of going on a weird tangent. Let me ask you this question, Chad. Do you think that Myron has really good game?
I personally, I don't know whether he has a good game, but I do know that he teaches that he cold approaches. I've actually seen some of his videos on that. So I'm assuming, and he talks off and on about mystery as well. And he does talk about previously doing cold approach and even still doing cold approach to this day. So I assume that he has a relatively competent skill set. And I would say that an intermediate, that's passing, at least in terms of an upgraded version of competence, where he's going to go out and approach. He's going to sort of understand DHV, triggers of attraction, and get some sort of positive reciprocal feedback.
Right, but how much infield have you seen of him? How much examples have you actually seen of him approaching and showing good game? I'm guessing 0, right?
No, he doesn't. I don't think he's actually shown infield. I don't think he's specifically a dating coach.
I mean, for a long time, they did call themselves the #1 dating podcast. So that was really their branding up until a month ago. So for a long time, they literally referred to themselves.
But have you also seen him? He would attack game if you want to use game. Actually, and this is why you should probably also be charitable and fair to him. He would say, I remember when a quote unquote natural who lived in Vegas ran into his show, and the natural would say, "No, you don't need this. You don't need all this clout and status and woman on your show and the drama and the emotions." Because here, I'm 44 years old and I live in Vegas and I've slept with 127 women. And I remember Myron was sort of chastising him, right? He was actually saying, dude, this is old school. This is sort of going back to the 2000s. That game is useful, but game is not the only variable in town these days, right? Go ahead.
Chad, no one is saying that Myron is wrong about everything. So that's called a straw man argument, is when you basically say, I disagree with you about this, but we don't actually believe that. So neither me or Kevin are saying that Myron is wrong about everything. I just acknowledge that I think he has intermediate level game. Let me ask you a different question, though. Do you think Myron is a true alpha?
I mean, that would depend how you define an alpha, pretty much. But I think alpha is a social construct, and that there's different variations. I think a better word would be something like high value, because a high value could include someone who has the traditional, typical alpha characteristics, or it may mean something completely different. It may mean someone, as you were describing earlier, someone who's more unreactive, who's more chill. But let's be clear and blunt. Mystery isn't for example, if we go back to OG Mystery, right? His game is based on sort of triggering emotions, using magic, using routines. If we want to go use him as a template, he wasn't that sort of Sylvester Stallone alpha male. He was more like a magician, feminine, mysterious. There's different sort of archetypes that work when you talk about game, and I think Myron would be one kind of form of a kind of alpha that does have a lot and at least some success. But yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
so you said he's a kind of alpha. Those were your exact words. So I think that when you ask someone, hey, is he an alpha or a beta? If the answer is not, yeah, he's an alpha, then that's pretty telling in of itself. If you
I
have
don't
to
know.
say
I don't think that is. I think it's ridiculous to have like alpha and beta on like a binary spectrum. I think
think
it's
so.
Okay, so
obviously
this is fine. So hold on.
that's
I
like
don't think it's
that's like
binary.
a cartoon.
Can I-
That's like a cartoon world red pill version of reality. If we use
Look,
your guys'
okay. So how about this?
criticisms against red pill.
How about we say in this context, alpha is simply a man who is very attractive to women. That's it.
Yeah, he would be very attractive to a percentage of women. I have no doubt.
No. I didn't say to a percentage of women, because I said, is he very attractive to women?
There is no such thing as an alpha male who's universally desirable to all women. So
There absolutely
who's
is.
generally attractive to women. Let's take Sean Connery or someone like that. Like we can agree that Sean Connery
Or like
Brad Pitt,
Jason Momoa.
yeah, are generally attractive to women. The Rock, like they're generally attractive.
Girls can say like, oh, he's not my type, but they'd be like, I could see he's objectively attractive.
yeah, but then
He's
that
just not
means
my
that
type.
you would have to quantify the reasons as to why. Why wouldn't Myron have that sort of level of status and attraction? Would be
So
probably because of his job position, because he's not as well known. He's also
I'll
not
tell you
obviously
exactly.
an actor.
So I could answer that question exactly. I can tell you why Myron does not get the same response that those guys do. One, he is very reactive. Women are universally unattracted to very reactive guys. You can ask 100 women, probably 100, maybe 99 will say, I don't like guys who are super reactive. I don't like guys who are super emotional. I don't like guys who can't control their anger, who can't control
I fundamentally disagree, because I see Mystery. I see he was like very reactive. He was even suicidal at the time, emotional, dramatic. There are different archetypes that work and are successful with women.
Okay, so you disagree with the premise that women. So you're saying
I disagree with it in terms of its exclusivity, in terms of only unreactivity.
I think here's
attractive
a good way, because we have to compare Myron to somebody else, somebody who has actually been on his show. All right. Do you know who Andrew Tate is when he was on his show?
That's a good example.
Okay. So
yes,
Tate,
yeah, I know who Tate is. Yes.
Hold on. While Andrew Tate, while he was on his show, first of all, this guy is I don't know him really well, but he's a definitional alpha. He's a former kickboxing world champion, right? Doesn't get much more alpha than that. He was taking over the entire frame. He had one girl that was like on his dick the entire time. And everybody's eyes, the girls' eyes, even Myron and Fresh themselves were on Andrew the entire time. Nobody was paying attention to Myron. In fact, there has never been any girl on Myron's show that was like simping for Myron on the show. And yet Andrew comes in one time. Andrew comes in one time, and then this girl that he just met is like simping for him right next to him, or she's like basically feeling.
I have to disagree. I saw that show. I would say she was feminine. She was passive, polite. She was even giving like some kind of like nonverbal compliance with the smiles and all that. But there was nothing really that explicit. It was him sort of whispering in her ear. I sort of remember what happened. But I do agree with your ultimate point. I do agree that basically Andrew Tate has a higher level of competence in sort of, if we want to call it his altitude or his game. I would say that he has a higher level, but that's also because Myron, in terms of his status, is relatively new, right? He's up and coming, and he hasn't fully grown into his, let's say, his Kevin Samuels or Andrew Tate destiny yet. But I think he's on the way, and that's what Myron preaches, right? That's what he preaches. He preaches that he's building his value. He's on the way to his ultimate level. So I think that's consistent.
Hold on. So actually, Alex talks about this a lot too. Sometimes one exception to you don't have to be an alpha male to get laid is if you're famous, right? So are you making the claim that Myron, the reason he's not successful is he's not famous? Because that's actually the beta male of getting laid, of not learning this stuff. If you're a beta male, if you're a beta male and you struggle with women, the one way that you don't have to go through all the work to actually get good at this stuff is to become ultra famous. And just because you're famous, some girls are going to fuck you. Is that the argument that you're making?
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is that Myron's obviously not going to have as much universal desirability, although there's not absolute, that's just relative, as someone like the characters you mentioned, like who not Andrew Tate, it was Jason Moore, etc. Right? He can't have that because he doesn't have the same level of clout, right? And also, to be fair, he doesn't really have the same level of genetics, and we can sort of compare variable by variable.
Chad, what are you doing right now? You're looking for logical reasons why Myron is not as alpha as all these other guys. So you're giving him really the extreme benefit of that. Oh, he's not that alpha because he hasn't had this, and that. Let me ask you a different question.
But that's what he preaches. That's consistent with his actual message, that he is working to build his value. And in fact, he even says he doesn't explicitly identify as a high-value man on purpose.
Okay.
He says, let someone else decide that. Let people make their own decisions. He's growing. He's on his path. I think that's respectable.
Look, that's perfectly fine look, here's the issue, because Alex and I, I'm sure, are in the same frame. You can always improve. The issue is, if you don't consider yourself a high-value male, then you cannot teach other people how to be high-value males. You need to become a high-value male first, and then after that, then you can go preach on your podcast about it. Again,
well, that comes down to what is your definition of high value, right?
Chad, don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt
go ahead.
you, so please don't interrupt me, okay? All right. So if his whole thing, and I said this before, as long as if they only have their show as entertainment, like Maury or Jerry Springer, and then they don't call themselves the #1 men's improvement podcast in the world and give prescriptions on what you should do, that's perfectly fine. It's like, oh, this is the new Maury or Jerry Springer. It's kind of ridiculous, but fine, go for it. The issue is you said yourself, he doesn't consider himself, he doesn't talk about himself as if he's a high-value male, and yet he's giving prescriptions on how to become high-value men. It's like what we talked about a while ago with Sean. It's like, if you're not really that good at basketball, or you haven't even played basketball before, what gives you the right to be the person to show you how to play basketball correctly?
Yeah, I mean, you could ask, like, what gives the right of the coach of MJ or LeBron James the right?
No. That's a false argument. You know why? Because
it's not a false argument.
It is exactly.
But yeah, no, I'll let you respond. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So there's a difference between playing the game of basketball and playing the game of basketball professionally, right? Because two things can be true at once. The issue that I'm talking about with Myron Gaines is he hasn't even, if we're building a bridge of this analogy, he hasn't really even played the game of basketball effectively. He doesn't understand it, right? The whole thing of like, oh, well, Phil Jackson or whoever, they won't be able to. Those guys did play basketball, first of all, and they've developed a fundamental understanding of what basketball is. The reason that they're not professionals is because they didn't have the physical talent to become professional basketball players. A lot of these guys still ended up being very good basketball players in high school, very good basketball players in college. They just didn't have the talent level to become pro, but they had the mind to be able to actually be good coaches. I'm saying Myron barely even has played the game of basketball, and he hasn't even played on low level. He hasn't even played on the equivalent of like a high school level, and yet he's trying to teach people how to be in the NBA.
I would say, if you could let me briefly respond to that, I won't spend all day, but I would say that's actually a good counterpoint to the original comparison with someone like Jason Moore versus Myron. I would say one of them does have the actual genetics and the looks and the quality, and if he goes to the gym, he's going to have a lot more vivid success in responses versus someone like Myron, who you could say, who is quote unquote, at least in the dating, we know he's in the field, and as Alex said, he has an intermediate level. So he's at least active in the field, and he's practicing what he preaches in terms of this sort of value. So I think the ultimate thing you're saying here is kind of a little bit off as well, because if you say that a high value man is only someone who has more than intermediate game, then I would say that you guys would possibly fail on any other metric as well. Like who's in the top 1%? Who's a millionaire?
We didn't say a high value man.
Who's more universally desirable than Myron out of you two? Like it doesn't make sense to make that your yardstick of high value.
Well, first of all, I would make the argument they're
isolated metric.
Yeah, I would make the argument we're both universally more desirable than Myron. Now, I think.
Yeah, and to speak to that point, guys, a girl on Myron's show.
Well, you're welcome to make that argument, but that's an assertion.
Wait. I literally talked about this with Alex beforehand. A girl that was on Myron's show that I am 100% sure did not fuck him or was not least bit interested in him just slid into my DMs before we actually started this call. So.
Okay, let me ask
Take that for what
let me
you
pose
want.
a different question. Okay, Chad.
Anecdotal evidence is not evidence of
Hang on,
universal
Chad,
desirability. That's a
Chad.
non sequitur.
Hold on. No,
Yeah.
it's not a non sequitur because you were specifically referencing Alex and I in a vacuum. So in a vacuum, I was specifically saying the reasons why in that particular
Yeah,
case
but
was
that's
wrong.
not conclusive
your
evidence.
defense
That's
of Myron is
circumstantial
hold on,
anecdotes.
If you make an anecdotal attack, right, saying or a personal attack, and I personally defend myself with an anecdote, that makes it legitimate. It's only not legitimate if they make an
It wasn't an anecdotal attack because there's no. Okay, go ahead.
You just said who's going to be more attractive universally, me, and Alex, or Myron. So because of that, I am justified in making an anecdotal claim to defend myself. It's only fallacious if we are talking about something that's empirically based, and then I bring up anecdotes instead.
Chad,
I think that is empirically based, though.
Just hang on.
How is it empirically based?
I'll let you speak right after this. Chad, every single defense you've had of Myron has been purely anecdotal. He says this. He talked about this in one time. It's all anecdotal. Every single defense you have of Myron is purely anecdotal. Thus, you can't discount when we speak anecdotal stuff. But let me move on from that. I
disagree. I mean, whether he, for example, is he a millionaire? Is he not a millionaire? That's not anecdotal. He's a millionaire. Same with you guys. Are you millionaires? Or are you not millionaires? It's an empirical question. It's yes or no.
Back to money.
Why do you keep bringing it back to money and fame?
Because high value is more than one metric. It's not an isolated metric of just game, right? I mean, even the base.
Never said that.
No one. You're making a straw man argument again. Again, we don't believe that. I also think if you watch my videos on sexual marketing,
but that's why you pointed to saying that it was inappropriate for Myron to teach dating because he himself does not identify as a high value man. But I'm saying you guys have the same problem.
I'm saying it's inappropriate for him to call himself the #1 dating podcast when he gives bad dating advice. Okay, That's a different claim to the claim that Kevin made. You have to follow the conversation. I mean, let's not split hairs here. I mean, there's multiple things where we can argue about why Myron is not qualified to be doing what he's doing. And we're not even talking about fresh here. Mr. I fucked 2,000 girls in one day or whatever. I mean, okay, but we're just literally talking about Myron, who I would argue is the better one out of the two.
Look, here's the reason. Well, real quick, sorry to interrupt you, Alex. We want to revert it back to the initial thing that we talked about because we keep going on these tangents. You asked if we think Myron is a fake alpha male. And yes, we said he is a fake alpha male. And here's another thing too. Here's a good way to break it down, all right? So an alpha male, there's two different types of hierarchies. There's a competence hierarchy and there's a power hierarchy. So a competence hierarchy is basically where it's meritorious in nature. It's whoever's the best man may win, right? A power hierarchy, on the other hand, is subject to nepotism. People who are placed in power positions, so in politics, for example, just because they know a guy, right? So technically in the power dynamic, Myron could be the alpha male in the sense that he has a lot of clout and a lot of people know who he is, and whatnot. But from a competence standpoint, from a competent alpha standpoint, which is actually what we try to preach, the entire point of what we should be talking about is teaching guys to become alphas within a competence hierarchy standpoint. Because unless you're making the claim that Myron is making his content so that everybody can one day start one of the most successful podcasts in the world, that's a heavy that's a heavy claim to make, right? So the entire point and what we're talking about in terms of alpha males is a competent alpha male in which the qualities of doing things like getting girls, for example, having a high value life, all these other types of stuff is achievable through meritorious means, not through power means. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense.
The problem with that argument as well is that Myron wasn't born with a podcast on YouTube, so I that doesn't really make sense. The clout that he's accumulated is to his own meritorious efforts. So his own meritorious efforts.
Yeah, we're not disagreeing with that. We're talking specifically in the context of dating.
Do you specifically mean game?
Yes.
What we're talking about in terms of being a fake alpha male, right? The thing that Alex and I are very, very consistent with this, right? I don't want to speak with him, but I'm pretty sure he is too with this. It's we don't have a problem, and we talked about this with Sean a while ago. We don't have a problem with him giving finance advice, all these other types of things. We have a problem with the prescriptions that he has when it comes to dating, because
which are objectively incorrect according to multiple women. So let me pose this question, Chad. My channel is centered around online dating. And a lot of guys, they look at me as an authority. I'm flattered. and they buy my product. They want to support me because they look at me as an authority. What if you found out that 70% of the shit I was saying about online dating is objectively false? Would you see that as problematic?
Sure.
Okay, this is the reason why we are having a problem with them calling themselves the #1 dating podcast, when we know and women know that the advice they're giving is largely, not completely, but there's a lot of it is completely incorrect. And I can quote multiple examples here. Like, for example, if a chick, you pull a chick back to your place and she is, she doesn't want to have sex, that means she's doing that because she's playing a power game. So you need to go in another room and call another girl. That is bad game advice. First of all, most of the time she's not doing it because it's a power play. Most of the time she's doing it because she's not comfortable. She's not fully attracted. She has a concern or objection hasn't been answered. That is bad dating advice. And I think it's important for people to call out bad shit, because if we don't call it out, then who is? Like, then their followers are going to follow this. They're going to get no results and they're going to get frustrated. Like, do you see that as problematic? We calling out things that are objectively not true.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have it. Like, I'm not a Myron fanboy. To be quite clear, like, I do respect the guy. I like his hustle. I would probably even be his friend. But I'm not the gospel of Myron. I'm not like just the other guy I think would defend Myron on any count. Whereas I think that even me personally, I am a coach myself. My name is Marcus Benedict on Facebook, by the way, and I would say that I would teach better cold approach game than Myron, like hands down. And I would say that they're definitely, I would actually go to someone like you, Alex. Me personally, I would go to you in the case of like online text game, etc., as an authority over Myron. So I have no problems with that. But I guess the ultimate issue here is the issue is, I guess one thing that came up was this idea of like him being the fake alpha or the fake high value man, the man that shouldn't be teaching this stuff. I think you're now saying, from what I understand, that it's more relative and relevant to what he shouldn't be teaching is some specific things that you take issue with. I'm happy with that, but I don't perceive that to mean that makes him a fake alpha or that makes him not true high value.
There are two separate points. So I've never once said that I think that Fresh and Fit should get canceled. No, I've admitted personally multiple times that I sometimes watch them myself. So I think it's a free fucking country. They keep doing what they're doing, and there are some things they say which I agree with them on, and I do think they have pretty decent finance advice and whatnot. So I've never once disputed that. I do think that a large portion of the dating advice they give is objectively incorrect. I think you're agreeing with me on this as well. You're also kind of agreeing, Well,
I mean, I'm agreeing with you on the specific example that you gave, sure.
Right, but I can just keep going and going with these examples. There's multiple of them. Like, I haven't watched all their shit, but I can.
Well, I'm taking your word because I haven't. Like, for example, I don't necessarily agree from what I understand of the famous case that you guys both initially were commenting on. I didn't necessarily agree because I didn't see anywhere where Myron was basically like, listen, I only use game. I only use like this external intermediate level of competence I have in order to bring women in the sack. In fact, he is even before that PM came famous, he was pretty much relatively explicit about the fact that this is exactly what he does. I also would say, with the response to the simping point that I think you were bringing up to Sean earlier, I would say, yeah, I would actually agree with you that that's contradictory and virtually paradoxical, but I would say that's paradoxical ultimately to every man because and I think personally that every man deep down inside has a simp in him and that it's okay. It's okay to love women. It's okay to reverence women.
Loving women is not
simping.
simping.
Yeah,
let's be very clear. There's nothing simping about loving women. That's a
no. I disagree. I think that simp can have that's the part of simp that I think has a positive connotation.
No. I totally reject that premise. The entire thing of simping is giving women certain privileges that otherwise you wouldn't do just simply because you want to fuck them. That's simping. The fact that you said simp, like loving somebody is simping, are you kidding me? Do you love?
Yeah,
do you love, do you, is there somebody in your life
I don't think that's
love?
I don't know where you got that definition of simping, but there's probably at least
Where did you
5 to
get your
10
definition?
definitions.
I think you're the one that's on the fringe saying that love
Kevin,
equals
let me
simp.
educate you a little bit. There is no one singular dark definition of simp. Okay, simp is a constructed word. It's a constructed term. It has multiple definitions.
Okay, but what we can't do is
we
can't change that. We can't say, oh, but this doesn't really fall into that definition. Thus, it's not a valid argument, because then we're not going to be able to get any kind of logical debate done. I mean, I think you actually agree with us on a lot of stuff, Chad. I think what you're disagreeing. I think the big thing you're disagreeing with us on is that, when we called Myron a fake alpha, but you called him yourself, your own words, I believe, were sort of alpha. I don't really see much of a difference between that and pseudo alpha. Like pseudo alpha, sort of alpha, they're not too different from each other. So
I mean that's the framework that you set out. If you have a framework in which you're either beta or alpha, which is a very red pill framework, which you critique, by the way, I think that's false.
I'm doing that for the
basically you're defending Rollo Tomasi's idea, even though you're one of his biggest critics. So I don't understand it.
No, I don't think it's black. I don't think. Well, first of all, I don't think I'm one of his biggest critics, but I don't think it's as black as white as that. No, I think it's a scale. But for the sake of this argument,
exactly, and that's exactly what I had previously said.
Right. Okay. So if I had to do a scale and level whatever, 1 is like total beta and 10 is total alpha, I'll put myself as like an 8 and Myron is like a 4, something like that. Yeah. I myself I'm probably not 100% alpha, nor is anyone. So yeah, of course it's not binary, but I don't think he's like, he crosses into the alpha territory again, because he's very reactive. And I think as a dating coach, Chad, you should know that women are not attracted to very reactive guys. That is universally unattractive. Do you disagree with me on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've already expressed my disagreement. I think this is merely repeating myself at this point, that the idea that only non-reactivity is somehow the be-all and end-all. And
no, so you're doing Chad, you're doing a straw man argument right now. So you're taking what I'm saying out of context, and you're saying that my argument is that non-reactivity is the only thing that matters. No, I am not saying that. But non-reactivity is a key part. It's a key and essential part of being attracted to women. It's not the only thing. It's not the end all.
Can you get laid without being unreactive?
If you get really fucking lucky. But if you're getting super reactive, you will fuck it up with 90-95% of chicks.
Hold on. I know how you can get laid by being super reactive. So here's step 1. You start a popular podcast, and then step 2, you try to convince girls to come on to your podcast. And then when they agree to come on, then you say that you can only join the podcast if you fuck me. So that's how actually
Or you can just directly pay for sex.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, apparently Myron's an intermediate, so he never needed to do that or pay for sex. So
well, it depends. You could be an intermediate and not get with that many good-looking girls. So you can be, and actually this has happened before too. So Alex's friend John Anthony, he got an email from Myron asking for coaching, and then Myron admitted he only got with 4s, right? And now,
to be fair, 4 through 8s, but yeah. 4 through 8.
Yeah. Dude, at that point, I know about that video. At that point, right, the guy said he was on, 150 lay count at that point, and obviously that's, I think, I mean, at least if we take his word, that's either intermediate or beyond, to say the least.
What if there are 150 2s and 3s? It matters about the quality of the women,
especially if he's heavily relying on seeking arrangement, which we all know he is. So let's keep it real.
Yeah, like your buddy J-Mov is as well, of course. And man, all these dating coaches are coming out of the works with the seeking arrangement. There was another one recently.
Okay, so you made an accusation, so let me defend my buddy. So yes, John Anthony has extensively used seeking arrangement. He's admitted it publicly many times, so he's not really denying it. He hasn't used it in quite a bit because he lives in Brazil, where Tinder's like super easy, and so is cold approach. So he hasn't used it in a while. I don't think any of the girls in his rotation are from seeking arrangement. I've personally,
he literally said in one of his comments that he was using the Brazilian version of seeking arrangement. I don't know what it's called, but I read a comment of his in one of his YouTube comments. So he's definitely using whatever variation of it is down there.
He's using a threesome app that's different than seeking arrangement, but he's using an app for threesomes because he's got a girl. I mean, John Anthony objectively has very solid game. I think also,
and he shouldn't be teaching because that's not real game. And no, he doesn't have solid game. That's a really abysmal analysis.
No, okay. Why does he not have solid game? Does he not?
Well,
get
first of
what's-
all, okay, we could have a whole podcast on J-Mob alone. But first of all, I think the major problem that no one picks up with J-Mob is that he's over 50% natural. That's the even before he was allegedly learned mystery method, his lay count was on like what? I think he claimed it was like 66. It was fairly high as well. It was very high. That you have to go back into the archives, of course, to see his former videos. But then you can also see it even just in his infields, where he sort of has this kind of obliviousness to social feedback.
Okay, let me pose this question, because this is going to be a very straightforward question. Do you think Myron is more qualified than J-Mo to give dating advice? Yes or no?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, given the fact that J-Mo has shown hundreds of infields, Myron has shown zero. What J-Mo has shown proof of him hooking up with hot girls, Myron has shown zero of that. Given all that, you still think that Myron is more qualified? Given the fact that
yes, because there's first of all, you know as well as I know that in the case of the woman that are currently staying, well, it depends who you want to talk about, right? But the one called, I think she's identified as Liz, it is now well known that, for example, she previously was less augmented, if we just put it politely. Now she's not. So it's clear that she was another one of these girls that came from this app.
No. See, again, you're getting your facts. See, again, you're getting your facts wrong. She's a structural engineer, and she came from, I believe, Tinder. So she didn't come from one of these apps. She came from Tinder.
I just said she came from one of these apps, and you just
confirmed
she came from
apps,
Tinder.
you're referring to like a seeking arrangement app. Like she's like, I've talked to her. Like she is a pretty smart chick. You know, maybe like.
No, I wasn't referring to seeking arrangement. I'm just referring to one of these apps. It's just a generic comment. If I say seeking arrangement, I mean it. But that's my point. Anyway, so he pulled her from Tinder, right? He got her from Tinder. Then now what's happening? He's augmenting her physically. He's hosting it, getting more girls from a threesome here, and he's using his millionaire status to build them up so that they become attached to him. This is not game, man. This is kind of the same kind of thing that you accuse Myron of doing.
First of all, J-Mo was not a millionaire. I will just say it. I don't think he is.
He's literally. Did you see his latest challenge to Danny Mullen? He literally challenged him.
I don't know his exact financial. Okay, I don't know his exact financial situation. I'm sure he's got some money saved up. I severely doubt
if he's not a millionaire, why is he telling someone 500 grand? What are you talking about, man?
Chad, we will listen. We need you to stop yelling. Like I'm gonna go deaf.
Again, we're kind of going off on these weird tangents. But you legitimately think that Myron, given the fact that he's shown zero infield, is more qualified than J-Mo, who's shown hundreds of infields?
That are mostly you can break them down. You can see how poor they are. In fact, I think he admitted with the girl, the model infield. He admitted that she had a boyfriend. She didn't come out again. I mean, every example that you can give of J-Mo supposedly having game has questions at the minimum orientated around it, to say the least.
Dude, they're not even close. And like I've gone out with both of them, Myron and J-Mo. I spent a weekend with J-Mo. He banged like 7 girls during that weekend. I've gone out with Myron twice. He didn't get so much as a phone number. They're not even close.
I agree, they're not even close. You know, your friend. I don't know if you've interviewed. I think you've interviewed him, but Bulldog Mindset. Sorry, he encountered J-Mo in Las Vegas, and he said that he was drunk and sloppily approached and made out with 2 girls and had the sloppiest game that he'd ever seen. That's J-Mo. He's not a real.
Words were made out with 2 girls. How much?
Yes,
have you seen
exactly. I said before. What did I say earlier? He's a natural. He didn't actually have to learn proper game. That was my whole point. He doesn't have an actual competent skill set that he built and learned for himself, and that now he is transferring to his clients. That's bullshit.
So what about the hundreds of clients who are getting results with the methods? So you're saying that's all nonsense?
Okay, I can say the same thing about the testimonies on Myron's page. What does it matter? It's like
where are they? I haven't seen a single one of them. I haven't seen a single testimonial from anyone who's following Myron.
Okay, maybe you should join as a Patreon.
Yeah, I think I'd rather not, but I haven't seen a single video testimonial of them.
Yeah, I didn't think you would. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do a more extensive
flabbergasted.
analysis of J-Mob at any point, but I happen to disagree on this point. On this issue, we disagree.
You legitimately think that? I mean, this to me is mind-boggling. You legitimately think that if you put Myron and J-Mob in a bar, that Myron will get more success with girls than J-Mob? Yes or no?
Look, even J-Mob himself, what did he say? He said that there's no guarantee that you can pull on any given night, right?
No, Chad. You're dodging the question.
That's not what Myron said. So that's what your buddy J-Mob said, right?
Yeah, there's never guarantee, but what you're doing is you're doing a bullshit argument. My question is, who do you think? Let's do a week. Okay,
that's not an argument. Actually, it's just a quote. But that's my point. Is I agree with him. But if I was to make a bet with you, right? If I was to make a bet with you, I would put my money on Myron over J-Mob. Absolutely.
Even though you've seen 0 infields of Myron.
I have enough testimony from you and from his class alone, and from the fact, like, why do you think, if Myron's a fraud, why do you think the guy that you were alphatizing before, Mr. Andrew Tate, why do you think he would even collab with him? I don't get it.
For the clout? Why not? Obviously, he told. I heard indirectly.
Well, you wouldn't do that, right? You just said that he wouldn't do that to you. You wouldn't do that to him. So I mean, that was before I was on, but.
Me and Andrew are completely different people. I mean, would I do it? I don't know. I mean, would I go on their podcast? Probably not. But not because I don't want the cloud. Because
so you think that Andrew is somehow like shallow, even though you were like glorifying him as an alpha before? Doesn't make sense. But obviously, the guy has an ethical code. He's an ethical code. He's a smart man.
He is a smart guy. He's a smart guy who
he collabs with J-Mob as well. He's not inconsistent. He does what the fuck he wants, right?
Dude, fucking Tate is a smart guy. He's a businessman. He realized if he goes on their podcast, he'll get way more business. I didn't hear this from him directly. I heard it indirectly through a mutual friend we have. Because I was like, why is he on their podcast? He's like, oh, he's just doing it for the cloud. This is through someone who knows Tate really well. And it makes perfect fucking sense. Like, so why is he going on there? Yeah, for the cloud. There's been a lot of alpha, like legit guys who've gone on their podcast. I like Austin a lot. He's been on their podcast. So I'm not going to say that just because you are, a pseudo alpha doesn't mean you can't get real alpha people on your podcast, especially when you have a shitload of cloud. I've given mine full credit for building up.
I think it's more than that, though. I think, like, Andrew Tate literally just said, like, he will not talk about shit that he does, people that he does not, that he has respect for.
Have you ever met Tate, or do you know anyone who?
No. I'm literally going by just what I've seen on YouTube.
Do you have any mutual friends with Tate?
No, I'm just going by what he's. I'm just saying. Listen. I don't care about privacy. I'm going based on public record, right? This is what he said in public record. And so that's all I have to go by you on. That's all I have to go by J-Mob on. Public record. What is public?
Okay, yeah, because people never exaggerate and say things they don't really mean in public. I have mutual friends with Tate.
I mean, if you want to make a case that Andrew Tate doesn't respect Myron, be my guest. I'm happy to listen.
I would make that case, but we're again, like, you're kind of taking this in a weird direction because that's so not the argument. Like, the initial argument is, why is Myron and Walter, let's not forget about him, Mr. 2000 race, is not qualified to give dating advice. And the reason they're not qualified to give dating advice is because they're wrong about a lot of the dating advice they give. And I can quote numerous examples of that. And I don't think you're even disagreeing with me on those examples, but you're kind of making side arguments. You're saying, well, what about this? What about that? It's called what about
No,
this?
I mean, I've contested some of the examples. I agreed with others. So it's a bit of it's ambivalent mixed bag here. So I don't think any of these examples mean that Fit and Fresh should like stop. As you even said, you don't want them to be cancelled, but I don't think they should stop teaching dating anymore. I honestly, even though I don't think J-Mob is like the greatest, I don't think he should stop teaching dating either. So. Yeah.
Don't necessarily believe they should stop teaching dating, but they should stop calling themselves the #1 dating podcast when they're dating advice.
That's obviously marketing. That's, I mean, if they actually believe that, then that's as retarded as J-Mob comparing himself to LeBron James and saying that he's the LeBron James of game. That's narcissistic. That's crazy. That's stupid. And if my
so you're actually saying that them calling, so your exact word, Shatter, you're saying them calling themselves the #1 dating podcast is retarded, stupid, nonsensical.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's a marketing gimmick, then I think that the person who actually thinks that is probably legitimately insane.
Okay, so
just
why
like
don't you
J-Mo.
why don't you give the same we could use the same logic with Andrew going on Fresh and Fit, even though he doesn't like them. It's just marketing, bro.
Because I think there's a difference between marketing and collabing with someone that you've previously said you've respected.
Collabing is marketing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a form of marketing, but he's publicly stated his opinions on public record. But as for the title of a podcast or you sort of pumping up your own podcast, I put that in the same of J-Mov category of sort of bolstering his own claim to be like comparable to LeBron James. I think that's either marketing, but if someone actually believes that, then I think there's a psychological issue, perhaps.
I mean, I would say there probably is some kind of psychological issue there, probably more like narcissism and something like that. But okay, that's a different point. Do you disagree with me that a sizable portion of the dating advice is objectively wrong?
Do you mean of Myron?
Fresh and Fit. I mean, they're both one unit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've honestly, I would say that there's enough wrong to make a critique, and that's why I support your videos. I'm happy to agree with the points that you make that I think are valid. So,
Chad, we're actually not disagreeing on much. You literally just said that you think there's enough for us. It doesn't matter if it's 40 or 60%.
Yeah. No, I'm with J-Mov and yourself on this. I think the entire industry needs absolutely cleaning up, and that the constructive criticism is absolutely healthy and the proper thing to do. And I'm glad that I was a part of this and you guys came together. So
given what you just said, what is the problem with what me and Kevin are doing? Given that fact that you think that criticism is good.
No, I don't have a specific issue with the method of what you're doing, of criticism or healthy skepticism, right? I specifically took issue with some specific claims, like he's a fake alpha. And I think now that you've nuanced what you mean by that, we're at least a tad bit closer to agreement on what we mean by that. For example, anyway, yeah.
I don't think we're disagreeing on much, actually. I think I'm going to give my honest opinion. I think you are definitely a Fresh and Fit fan, but I think you are also probably intelligent enough to kind of see through the bullshit. And you are like, okay, how do I balance these two sides of me? One side of me is a Fresh and Fit fan. I like these guys. I like what they're doing. Another side of me is like, yeah, this is objectively wrong. And you're trying to balance both of these sides in your head. And that's what's the cause of the conflict for you.
Listen, I honestly believe, don't you think that we should do the same with just the whole red pill, black pill, and blue pill in general? 100%. Like, I don't want, I don't want to fully land on one side and become. I've been trying. Me and John have been doing that. John's been doing it more than me, but I've been doing that. The reason why we specifically focus a little bit more on Fresh and Fit specifically is because they're the most viral right now. So they're the ones. Like, if I can make a video critiquing Donovan Sharp, that's actually going to give him more attention than it is going to critique him, because at least someone's actually talking about him. No one gives a shit about him. I can do the same thing with a lot of these other guys, but no one cares about them, right? They're not in the limelight. So there's no point in me critiquing them if no one even gives a shit about them. Same with Modern Life Dating. Fresh and Fit is actually in the limelight, and good for them for doing the work of getting there. But that comes with valid criticism. And if they're so confident in their beliefs, then they should be open to having a respectful debate, which they're clearly not. Yeah, no, that's 100%. I agree with that point. 100%. And in fact, I think that's admirable with both you and Kevin, that you are willing to have an open debate. And I honestly think that anyone who's not willing to have an open debate, I will not respect them on that point. Like, they have to have an open debate. That's an absolute must and a virtue, in my opinion.
So it seems like there's multiple points on which you don't really respect Fresh and Fit on, which is exactly how me and Kevin feel. There's certain things we like about them, certain things we don't. The only difference is me and Kevin criticize them, and you kind of keep to yourself, right? Which is fine. That's your choice as a content creator. But I don't really think there's a disagreement. You might disagree with some of the wording that we use, but that seems to be the extent of the disagreement.
No, I think what I've been coming from our previous conversation, I would say probably like, I don't know. I mean, I'm just guessing here, but I'd probably say like 50-50. My point is that I think some of the critiques are unfair and unbalanced. I think others are okay. That's the point, right? And I would do the same if I was in this. Even if I actually personally, Alex, I personally actually like you. Like I've watched your videos. I just like you in general. Yeah, but I don't like J-Mov. The fact of the matter is, if I gave a criticism of J-Mov, I'm still going to be honest. For example, I actually believe his leg count is legit. I'm one of his critics that actually would give him that. I mean,
that's a whole different debate in of itself. Like again, everyone could benefit from a little criticism, including me and J-Mov. I do think that, in my opinion, having personally met both of them and gone out with both of them, it wouldn't even be close between J-Mov and Myron or J-Mov and Walter. It wouldn't even be close. But again, I think I probably have a pretty good perspective on this again because I've gone out with both of them and I've seen their game in field. But yeah, again, we're kind of like going in circles now.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Chad.
Yeah. Do you have any closing thoughts, Chad?
Well, thanks for having me. Now let me do what Myron does with the clout. My name is Marcus Benedict on Facebook. If you want to say hi, even Kevin or Alex, if you guys want to DM me, just have a chat or any more talk about criticism and such. That's all good. And thanks for having me on. You guys are obviously very open-minded and do well in defending your own positions as well. I respect that. So yeah, take care, guys.
All right,
thanks, Chad.
Yeah. All right, interesting.
My ear, maybe because you had it on speaker, it was fine, but my ears are destroyed.
That's
it was like somebody said it was like he was like using a megaphone.
That's what everyone was saying in the comments. Yeah, I mean, it seems interesting how every single person we've had on at the end is like kind of like agrees with us. It's like, yeah, we're not actually disagreeing about anything.
I think what happens, Alex, honestly, is these guys come in as fanboys, and I think they understand after a while. Because that's what's so great about having a logical debate and arguing in good faith. Because eventually, you help people realize, ideally, maybe that they actually were coming in with an ideological, dogmatic position, and then so nobody's ever gonna. It's very rare. I mean, that first the relaxation guy. It's very rare somebody will come in and be like, you know what, actually I was wrong. Most people will end up kind of just being like, oh, I guess we agree with more than we disagree on. And that's kind of like their way of, waving the white flag. I would like to think that Chad, somebody said in the chat, I would like to think that Chad really isn't a fresh and fit fanboy, but otherwise it's like, why did he even come on? Like he was in the chat being like, I want to debate these guys and stuff. And I think it's just because he knew he couldn't.
To some extent, I think he's got like there's like conflicting things. It's like the angel and the demon. The angel is like, dude, like I don't know, some of the shit they say just like doesn't really make sense. The devil's like, no, but they're so awesome, right? And so he's kind of had that going. But when we kind of talked it out, he was saying like, yeah, it's problematic. This is problematic. That's problematic. Really, he had a problem with the only thing he had a disagreement with was with the terminology of us calling Myron a fake alpha, but he called him a sort of alpha. So like, it's not that.
Look, no. So he's already calling us fools in the comment section. He was just doing that because he was starting to look bad. I'm telling you, man. I've debated guys like these before. Half the stuff he just had to kind of, say, because he just completely changed his mind on a bunch of stuff because he knew he was losing the argument. So
for marketing, yeah,
I think even a lot of the
so
chat
many fucking customers from this. Everyone wants to see you yell into the microphone. Yeah, you're gonna get so many sales.
First tip to you, Chad, from a marketing standpoint, if you're gonna say have your real name on your Facebook, have your real name on your branding too. Instead of I am Chad, call yourself Marcus or whatever it was. Because people are just gonna think of you as Chad now.
Bad faith behavior, we're clearly having you on to have like a logical debate with you, and you're like, if your thing is promoting your fucking, first of all, who the fuck is going to hire a dating coach who doesn't realize that women are not attracted to extremely emotionally attractive men? Like, I didn't want to say it when he was on because I didn't want to be a dick, but like, I'm like, dude, like, you're a dating coach and you don't know that women are not attracted to emotionally attractive guys. Like, come on. So yeah. I don't know how well that worked for him, but we'll see. Good one, Chad. Good one.
Yeah.
All right, we've been going for 3.5 hours, so we got to get this.
Yeah, I was like slowly fading out, especially when he brought up J-Move, because like, look, I don't really know J-Move like at all. Honestly, I enjoy his roast videos, but I felt, especially since you were his friend, it was, you could talk more on that. But then when that was happening, and then that Chad guy was still like yelling into the microphone, I was like,
my I don't know, my articulation has gotten like progressively worse and worse because I'm just getting so fucking tired. Like with I am Chad, I'm like just trying to like summon the energy to like refute his points. I'm like, yeah. Anyway,
definitely interesting.
This was one of the most interesting
today, but it was a fun time, man.
Yeah,
it's fun, isn't it? I do this every week on my stream. I let people on, and I gotta admit, the people that we had on today were the most disagreeable. The last two guys, like the middle guy, Sean, I feel like he's really representative of most Fresh and Fit's audience. Where they just like, again, I mean, we caught him in so many logical traps, and there was so much cognitive dissonance there because, again, his whole point is to try to simp for Fresh and Fit no matter what.
I honestly was a little flabbergasted when he said that Myron has better game than J-Move, and I was just like, he caught me off guard with that because that's like the equivalent of saying like this guy is actually not blue. I'm like, what? It's such a, I don't know. I was just like, really? Like, does anyone actually believe that? But yeah, I don't really.
Well, I will say, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say in certain environments, just from my understanding of like the demographics and studies I know. So, for example, Black women in general tend to be almost exclusively with Black men as a whole, right? So maybe if Myron went into an environment where it was only Black women, because of that, the preference that Black women tend to have for Black men, maybe that would give Myron an advantage. I have no idea. It's all really dependent on how good J-Mole's game is, and I don't really know much about him at all. So if you believe that J-Mole would definitely beat Myron no matter what, especially if you know both of them personally, then I don't doubt that.
No, there's zero chance. Yeah, it's kind of funny because like I am Chad now. He's like talking all this shit in the comments, but like he's like when we're ending up, oh, thank you, I'm a big fan. Yeah, man, like and then he's like a fucking tough guy behind the keyboard, which is like so representative of like this fucking culture.
It was all to save face. That's why like a lot of times, that's why it's so great that we can bring these guys on, because sometimes we can actually genuinely change their minds and have them actually think through this rationally and help them realize that they're ideologically driven. But other times we can just expose them for who they are, which is actually fanboys. So
PWF, I literally teach argument to undergrads at uni. You don't know what an argument is. Okay, Chad. Yeah, because an argument is yelling and interrupting and going on weird tangents and going completely off script and redefining definitions and saying that your version of definition isn't correct.
And setting your mic gain to over 9,000. Yeah. Dude, I have to go to like an ear doctor after this. It was insane. I tried to decrease the volume on my computer like to like 1 out of 100, and it was still too much. Like I had to constantly like bring it up and bring it down based on who was talking, you or him.
Yeah, I just lost massive respect for I am Chad. I actually probably respect him the least out of all these people simply because he's one of those guys that's like so nice to your face and then is just like a massive shit talker behind the scene. He's literally like a girl who's like, oh yeah, sure, and then she's like, like that's basically what he's doing in the comments, right? You don't know what an argument is, and just like emotionally reactive. So yeah, and he's just making these weird arguments. But okay, I am Chad.
Chad.
We
I hope you plugging your dating coaching. I hope that influenced somebody in the chat. I hope it was worth it, bro.
We should start making memes with Chad.
Dude, honestly, if somebody after that ended up hiring Chad as a dating coach, I wouldn't want that client anyway because they would be uncoachable.
Yeah, they're like
they're so far behind in like terms of like what they would literally be uncoachable if they think that they should hire him instead of us.
I really respect how this guy yelled over everyone, had his mic gain set to 10 million, how he pretended to be super nice and respectful and then talked shit in the comments. And I really like how he knows that he sees through the dating coach bullshit. He knows that women actually really want the emotionally reactive guys like me. They want that emotionally reactive guy. Me and my man Myron are the only ones who get it.
Yeah, I can't believe you said that. It's like, could you still get laid if you're reactive? You're asking like, yeah, you can, but that's kind of like saying, oh, can you can you win a basketball game without knowing how to shoot a basketball? It's like, technically, yeah, it depends on what the opponents are doing. Maybe you can luck your way through the game and just get lucky every shot and win. But does that actually signify your competence in the game? No, absolutely not. If you
Chad,
are,
we're not, Chad is like saying, look at Alex talking shit. Dude, we're not talking shit about you, man. You're the one that literally in the comments started talking massive shit about us, and we're refuting all the lame little points that you're making over Chad that you couldn't say to our faces, which is
we just pointed out, like, objectively, you came in,
we
you
were
came in with a mindset of
your platform.
Like you came in trying to defend Myron, and then everything kind of went to agreement at the end, but like you started to change your points to save face. I was just identifying that happened. And then even before I started identifying that, you're already talking shit in the comments. So
yeah. Anyway, let's not give Chad any more attention.
Yeah, no, that's
all right. So yeah. So anyway, so thank you guys for tuning into all this. This was interesting. Definitely. I hope you guys found this valuable. Let me know in the comments if you want to see me do more content like this, where we have debates, respectful debates, with what's it called, with other people, who disagree with us. And guys, make sure you check out Kevin's channel. He does some good stuff on there. Let's all show him support. Make sure you subscribe, because Kevin is one of the legit guys. So let's support him. Kevin, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, I think that especially when we brought guys into debate, that's what it's all about. If you have that commonly shared value of seeking the truth, then you can talk about anything, literally put your money where your mouth is and just freaking, actually show up and have a battle of the minds to try to see who's right, who's not. And again, like what we did with the first guy, like he came to an agreement with us and we had nothing but praise for him. We're not on here to just try to destroy people who disagree with us. We want to have an actual discussion with them. And like you saw with Chad before, the only times that we start to be, or me specifically, Alex is always calm, but the only times that I start to get kind of fiery is when you're fiery toward me and I'll be fiery back. It's like if somebody punches you in the face, if you punch me in the face, I'm going to punch you back 10 times harder and try to knock you out. So just don't try to punch me in the face, like that's all it is. So I think it's so important to be able to have these discussions. You know what I mean? So props to you, Alex, for bringing all these guys on. I know it can be interesting, but
well, at least no one showed their dick. So I'm thankful for that.
yeah. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I do streams every Friday night. And then at the end of the stream, I try to have guys on to kind of do what we did just here. So, check out my channel. I do all the aforementioned stuff that we did before. And I already saw that in the chat, a few of the guys subscribed to me. So thanks for that. And I'm sure Alice and I will be doing some more collabs in the future. And Alice, I'm looking forward to your upcoming interviews, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Really cool that you're bringing in all these. I saw that you're interviewing Courtney Ryan, right?
Courtney Ryan, yeah. I'm excited to have her on.
She's got a huge channel, so
she does, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, good things ahead. But yeah, man, we'll definitely do another one of these soon for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about this, I think, offline, but we can announce it real quick. We're gonna have Coach Whitepill on as well, right? And do some kind of thing with him.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be cool.
Sometime in the near future, we'll have Coach Whitepill on too.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, have a good one. We got a video dropping tomorrow, so make sure you smash that subscribe button and check out Kevin because he does some good shit. Much respect. All right, guys, I'm out.